Morning, everyone. What happened with Neeraj Chopra yesterday? Did he lose a gold medal? Did he win a silver medal? Did he lose a gold medal? Did he win a silver medal? The statement that you choose to give your answer here will reflect a lot about your mindset and what you are going to do in the exam. Couple of days back, last week, in fact, we had a test for the essay paper. And I told the students that, on the first page, please mention your prelims roll number, UPSC roll number, and just mention whether you're writing the mains or not. There are two scripts that I was checking. I don't know who those students were. One person had written, failed in the prelims this year. Failed in the prelims 2024. Another person had written, not writing the mains this year. When you write not writing the mains this year, there still remains some hope, some optimism that I will write the mains next year. But when you say that I failed, that indicates a slightly negative mindset. So again, the question is, did he win the silver medal? Did he lose the gold medal? Great people. There is, okay, fine. Now let me come back here. Before I start with the class, audio is not clear. Now it's clear? Good. Before I start with the class, last class, we were talking about case studies. There were 3 of them. Your batch, did we finish all 3? Number 2, previous class, before that, we were talking about laws and conscience. Laws we must have done. Conscience have we done in your batch? Conscience have we started in your batch? We have not even started conscience. We must have started. At least we must have started. 1 minute, let me just... Okay, 1 minute. I'll just start with this in a minute or so. First, let me take a couple of students. This boy who's drinking water, from there, in this line, I need 5 students, one after the other, you will tell me. Now, we were talking about laws, rules, and regulations. Laws, rules, and regulations always have some limitations. How many limitations do they have? Laws, rules, and regulations have some limitations. How many limitations? 10. Now, you people just give me 5. Number 1. Laws, rules, and regulations, do they have limitations? Yes. Limitation number 1. They prescribe the moral minimum. Fine. Moral minimum. Number 1. Number 2. That over a period of time, even the best of laws can become outdated. Correct. Number 3. Laws, rules, and regulations can be amended. They can be repealed. What is the problem with amending a law? How is that a limitation? When you amend them, when you repeal them, when you enact a new law, the intention may not be collective welfare, but the specific welfare of a few. Number 4, presence of a law is not enough. The interpretation of the law is equally important. Very good. 4. Number 5, that what a law provides by itself may not be morally or ethically correct. One last. Okay. One more. They are not always morally or ethically right. That has come. One more. Sorry? Needs to be enforced. Interpretation and laws also need to be enforced. One more. Same point, similar point. Yes, one more. They help in dealing with ethical dilemmas. No, sometimes they create ethical dilemmas for you. They need interpretation, they need good enforcement. That has already come. One more. They can be used as an excuse to avoid ethical deliberation. Given a choice between law on the one hand, ethics on the other, very often people prefer obeying the law rather than focusing on the ethical dimension. Why? Because if you ignore or if you violate legal provisions, you can be identified very easily, you can be punished very strictly. Even if you ignore the ethical dimension, what will you suffer? A sense of shame, a sense of guilt, or a sense of regret. To overcome these limitations, we have 2 options available. Which is the deontological and teleological theory. These 2 have we done in your batch. And along with that, the case number 1, that girl was asking for that injection. This part over here, these 4 points, did we discuss in your batch? Great people. This case over here, that girl, do you remember that girl needed an injection? What should the chemist do? He should accompany the girl, give the injection if the person is showing visible signs of distress. Since he is breaking the law, he must be willing to admit this to the authorities. If he has to be punished, the punishment should not be strict, it should be mild or symbolic. This have you done in your batch? Now, to overcome the limitations of laws, rules, and regulations, there are 2 approaches that we've done. Both these approaches ultimately, where have they gone? Where's that part gone? Both these approaches ultimately will depend upon the individual. Why will both of them? 1 minute. This boy here. what does the deontological theory say? What does the teleological theory say? The deontological theory says that the means justify the ends, rather the reverse, you should say. But okay, he is absolutely right. Deontological theory says that you must give adequate and appropriate importance to the means that you're using. Make good laws, rules, and regulations, obey them strictly, enforce them strictly. They will always prescribe the most appropriate course of action. Teleological theory, on the other hand, says should we focus on the laws or should we focus on individual judgment? That the individual in the situation will decide for you using his judgment and discretion what is the right course of action to take. Both approaches ultimately depend upon the individual, which is why every individual must have a well-educated conscience. Now, conscience in your batch, let me just show you the first part at least, because I don't remember where we stopped. Have we at least started by understanding what conscience is? We've not started at all, nothing we've done. Okay, fine. Then let me start with this part onwards. Now, covering conscience is going to take me 20 minutes, roughly 20 to 25 minutes. Everything that is given here, a lot of examples, quotations are already given in your handout. So don't worry about what is coming on the board. Understand the concept correctly. To understand the concept correctly, what do I need you to understand? In very simple terms, before I explain anything given over here, conscience is a tool. Conscience is a faculty within human beings that helps you assess whether your action is morally right or morally wrong. It helps you understand. But when I say it helps you understand what is morally right or wrong, the problem is that what you believe to be morally right may be very different from what other people believe to be morally correct. A person is supposed to and very often will act in accordance with his conscience. But if your conscience is not good, you could end up becoming one of the most evil, one of the worst people that this planet has ever seen. Acting on your conscience, you might do something very noble, very remarkable. Acting on the same conscience or a similar conscience, you may end up doing something very, very bad. If I take a look at two examples of people who listen to the conscience, let me first take the example. Whose example should I take over here? Let's say I talk about a person called Mahatma Gandhi. Gandhi listens to his conscience. His conscience tells him that you are a person who comes from a well-off family. You are a person who's received a British education, and this is in the 19th century. You are a person who has a comfortable family background, prosperous family. You have a good law degree in your hand. If you want, you can become a successful lawyer, earn a lot of money for yourself, keep your family safe. Don't get entangled with the British. They will send you to jail. They will beat you up. They will destroy your personal life. And Gandhi devotes the rest of his life in fighting for India's independence. Now, what is he doing? He is listening to the voice of his conscience. Another person who listens to the voice of his conscience is a person called Nathuram Godse. Godse's conscience tells him that what reasons only he will be able to explain to you. Godse's conscience tells him that whatever Gandhi has done for India was not good. Godse's conscience tells him that Gandhi is an imminent threat, imminent danger for India. And Godse's conscience tells him it is your duty to shoot Mahatma Gandhi. In history, this man, has Gandhi been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize? I think about 3 times already. He was never awarded it, and the prize is not given posthumously after you die. On the other hand, Godse will be remembered for only one thing, the act of killing one of the most exemplary human beings who lived in the last century. And yet, surprisingly, the important part for you, both of them were guided, both of them were motivated by their conscience. So now understand carefully, what exactly is conscience? Where does it come from? Is it right? Is it wrong? Is it dependable or not? First, the theoretical part. What is conscience? Conscience is not a feeling. Conscience is not an emotion. Conscience is an intellectual decision, an intellectual judgment. Using your intelligence, using your knowledge, using your experiences, when you take a decision regarding the morality or the immorality of an action, that is when we say that you're using your conscience. To understand that, let me take a simple example. All these students sitting over here, all of them are graduates. They are well read. They're supposed to read the newspapers. They are sensible people. Now, I tell these people that the year right now is 1998. In 98, what has happened? India just yesterday has conducted nuclear tests, successful nuclear tests. Now, I ask these people, how are you people feeling? High probability, yesterday the tests were conducted. Many of these students today will say that, sir, I am feeling a strong sense of pride and patriotism. Ask them, why are you feeling proud? They will say, feeling I'm talking about. They will say that, sir, I'm feeling proud because number one, this showcases India's scientific accomplishments. It shows the world that we are one of that handful of countries who have the ability to develop nuclear technology and use it successfully. Number two, they will say that, sir, I'm feeling proud because now India has created a strong deterrent which will keep India and its people safe against any external aggression. These are your feelings. Then I tell these students that you please don't answer right now. Take 1 minute, sit down, keep quiet, think for yourself, and take 1 minute to think. Any time India has to use, you're developing, you're making nuclear weapons. Whenever we use these nuclear weapons, do you think it will be needed for it will be something that is peaceful? It will achieve something that is prosperous, something that is good. Now, when these students think about it, many of these students will remember there's one statement that was given by a person called Albert Einstein. What did Einstein say? Einstein said that I don't know what the Third World War will be fought with, but the Fourth World War will be fought with what? With sticks and stones. Because if a Third World War starts and countries start using nuclear weapons, the entire planet will be almost annihilated. The losses will be terrible. And that is when these students will realize that a lot of people who are creating this narrative in India for the last 2-3 years, there's this narrative that we are telling, and people in positions of influence are saying that other countries must remember that if we have developed nuclear weapons, we are not saving them for Diwali. You say anything wrong to us, you do anything wrong to our people, and we will not hesitate. They completely forget your no first use policy. Now, when these students think about it, they will say that, sir, I think that we've developed nuclear weapons. Very good that we have scientific capabilities. But I believe that developing and utilizing such weapons is inherently wrong, is inherently immoral, because the consequences can be catastrophic. When you instinctively give an answer, that what is that called? Your feeling, your emotion, your instinct. On the other hand, when you think about it, use your knowledge, use your experiences. Now, when you decide on the morality or the immorality of an action, that is when we say that you're using your conscience. Problem is that over here, I'm talking about a set of students. People who are graduates, they have gone to good colleges, they're studying for a very serious exam. Same question, if I went on the streets of India and I got hold of a group of 20-30 people, roughly your age group, and I told them, should India use these weapons? I would not be surprised if many of them said yes. That if India is to become a superpower, is supposed to assert its dominance, it must not shy away, must not hesitate from using these weapons. Where are the differences coming from? Difference comes from what your conscience believes, what your conscience tells you to be right or to be wrong. That is why we say, in simple English, what do we say? That your conscience is your inner voice, your conscience is your internal moral compass. It will help you distinguish between right and wrong, will encourage you, will enable you, will facilitate you in doing what you think. Whether what you think is right or wrong is not our concern right now, but will encourage you to do what you think to be morally correct. Now, the question is that if the voice of my conscience tells me what is at least good for me, why do people on a daily basis, why do so many people deliberately and knowingly not do the right thing? Why do people deliberately and knowingly do the wrong thing? Because very often they do not listen to the voice of their conscience. To understand how we don't listen to the voice of our conscience, let me take this one statement whose statement is this? Mahatma Gandhi. This is given somewhere in your handout. Gandhi says that the human voice can never reach the distance that is covered by the small voice of conscience. Let me break this up into two parts. First part, Gandhi says the human voice can never reach the distance. What does this mean? By human voice, Gandhi is trying to say that whenever we have a conflict, whenever we are in a problem, whenever we are not sure what we should or should not do, what do? We seek a human voice. Who is a human voice? This is a person who can give you advice. This is a person who can guide you. This is a person who can mentor you. And who are these people that we seek advice from? Number one, our parents. Number two, our siblings. Number three, trusted friends. Number four, a teacher or a mentor, and so on. But Gandhi says that whenever you have a problem, it is not necessary that you will be able to find a human voice. There are some things that we cannot share with our parents. There are some things that we cannot reveal to our friends. And there are some issues that we can disclose to absolutely nobody. Gandhi says that even when you don't have a human voice to tell you what you should or should not do, The voice of your conscience will always tell you what is right or what is wrong, at least for you. How does the voice of your conscience tell you what to do? Sit still for 30 seconds, look within yourself. In any situation that you find yourself in, you will always know, without exception, will always know the difference between right and wrong. This is why we say that the voice of your conscience is powerful. If you listen to is powerful. If you listen to the voice of your conscience, it will always help you understand the difference between right and wrong. Problem is, we are using the word powerful. Gandhi doesn't use the word powerful. Gandhi says that the voice of your conscience is small. Why do we say that the voice of your conscience is powerful? Because you can always hear the voice of your conscience. Why does Gandhi say that the voice of conscience is small? Because you can always hear this voice. Problem is, only you can hear this voice. And since only you can hear the voice of your conscience, it becomes very easy to ignore this voice. How do you ignore the voice of your conscience? In one simple word, by lying. On a daily basis, who do we lie to? We lie to our parents, we lie to our friends. Every single day, multiple times, we lie to ourselves. How do we lie to ourselves? The students who are sitting here or in any other batch, ask the students, what do you want to do with your life? Forget this exam. Genuinely speaking, if you had the complete freedom, what do you want to do with your life? And different people will give different answers. One person will say, I actually want to become a bureaucrat. Another person will say, I want to play some sport. Another person will say, I want to become a singer. I want to start my own business. Whatever they want to do. Second, ask them that if we allow you to do whatever you want to do, 10 years from today or 20 years from today, do you think you'll be successful in that field? The moment you ask them this question, for example, let's just talk about the bureaucracy here. These students say that, sir, all of them say that, sir, I genuinely want to join the IAS. Ask these people, 10 years from today, are you certain that you will be in the IAS? The moment you ask them this question, what will they do? They will immediately look for a human voice. They will ask others. Who are the others they will ask? Here, for example, in this batch, these students will ask their friends. They will ask their teachers. In India, most commonly, where do we go? We go to astrologers. I'll go to a person sitting under a tree. I will show him my hand. He will look at my lines. And I'll ask him, based upon my lines, do you think I'll pass the prelims next year? And then he will say something or the other. Next time that you have a doubt regarding whether or not something is right or wrong, whether you will succeed or whether you will fail, what are you supposed to do? Sit still and look within yourself. Today is the 9th of August 2024. The time is 11:25 in the morning. If you want to understand your chance of passing this exam, for the next 30 seconds, keep quiet, look within yourself, be honest to yourself. Every single student here already knows. Will they pass the exam in 2025, 27, 29, or will they never pass the exam? How do I know that? And only I know this. I am a person who joined Vajiram, let's say about 6 months back. In your case, when did you join? February? How many months? 6 months back. In the last 6 months, every single day, the Hindu is delivered to my house. But in the last 6 months, I have not read even 1 week's newspaper, not even 1 week's editorial with clarity and understanding. Will I pass this exam? No. I know that. But only I know that. In the last 6 months, every single book that is given for the civil, you name the book, I have bought it, it's lying in my house. All the books I bought. But from all these books so far, I have not read even 1 chapter with clarity and understanding. Will I pass the exam? No. I know that. Only I know that. Since only I know that, every single day my conscience bothers me. My conscience irritates me. It tells me this is not, what does my conscience tell me? Every single day when I step out into the world, I pretend that I'm very confident. I pretend that I'm very cool. When I meet my friends and they say that I'm very worried about the civil services exam, test series is going to start in, let's say, October, what do I say? Very confidently, very nonchalantly, I say, you're unnecessarily worried. 1 week, you study 8-10 hours in a day, you'll be ready for the test series. I know what it requires. I will tell them that there's a book that has come in the market. I was watching a YouTube video yesterday. Some topper said that you should buy this book. I'll be able to buy and I'll be able to pass very easily. These kind of statements I make. When my parents tell me that you're not studying, you don't seem to be very serious, what will happen with your life? I say, don't worry. In 2 years, I'll be on the front page of every newspaper. You see how my life runs around. These are the kind of statements that I make every single day. Inside, however, what do I know? Within myself, I know that I am just lying to the rest of the world. My conscience constantly tells me that what you're doing is not right. How do I ignore the voice of my conscience? By lying. Now, to understand that lying, more important question is, 6 months I've been here, I'm attending classes, but I'm studying nothing. Not reading a single book, not reading a paper. Then ask me, what do you do with your time? In the last 6 months, I'm not studying. So I pass my time by watching movies and watching web series. In the last 6 months, every movie that has been released, any web series that has been released, I have watched every single one of them. Most important question you should ask me is, if you watched every movie released in the last 6 months, which movie did you enjoy the most? Honestly, not a single one. There's some very good movies, very good web series that was released. I watched them. Why did I not enjoy them? Because each time that I sat down to watch it, something inside told me that this is not the moment to be watching movies. Something inside me, every time that I sat down to watch the movie, something inside me reminded me that you come from an average middle class family. Your family has a lot of hopes and expectations from you. Study hard for 1 year, you can change your life. If you don't study hard for 1 year, after that, I have no idea what me or my family are going to do. Which is why I could not enjoy a single thing. My friends came, they took me to some marketplace, we went out for an outing. I did not enjoy. I went for a picnic, did not enjoy. Attended a cousin's wedding, I did not enjoy. Why? Because something kept irritating, kept bothering me, kept telling me, this is not the time to be doing these things. This thing that bothers you, annoys you, tries to control, tries to check, correct you. What is this thing called? This is called your conscience. If you have the courage, if you have the character to listen to the voice of your conscience, it will always enable you to do something that is correct, at least for you. Unfortunately, it's a small voice, only we can hear it, which is why we ignore it very frequently. We do not listen, we do not adhere to it. This conscience now has 4 basic features for us, but those I'll come to later. First, what conscience means, is everyone clear? Is everyone clear? One. Second, sir, I've done this. I've done this in your match. Someone is saying we've done this on 1st July. It doesn't matter, then revision. Very good. They're saying, yes, sir. No, sir. I am doing it. For my sake, I'm doing it again now. Okay, now conscience has 4 basic features. Let me do these 2. Then I'll ask you for questions. Then I'll do the next 2. Then again, I'll ask you for questions. 2 at a time, please understand with me. Now, first feature of conscience, like I was saying earlier also, it is not a feeling. It is not an emotion. It is an intellectual decision. Using your intelligence, using your knowledge, using your experiences, when you take a decision regarding the morality or the immorality of an action, that is when we say that you're using your conscience. And to understand that, let me take a look at one of the most horrific incidents that mankind has ever seen, the atomic bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Now, this incident happened almost about 80 years back. But even 80 years later, I can ask the students sitting here that when the Americans dropped the atom bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, was their decision morally correct? And when I ask this question, I know most, not only students, most people in this world will say no. If you ask them why not, they will say that you cannot completely exterminate innocent civilian populations of 2 different cities. But I also know that while most of these students will say no, the decision was not morally right, there's a small proportion of people in this world, a very small minority, who will say yes, the decision was morally correct. Ask these, who are these people? These are people living in the US. American citizens even today will remind you that it was only by dropping these bombs that the Second World War came to an end. They will remind you that if the bombs had not been dropped, the war could have continued for many more years, claiming millions of lives in the process. So yes, the decision was morally right. But even when they say morally right, the first group of people, the majority, will still remind you that even if your objective is very good, very noble, you cannot use unfair means. You cannot completely exterminate innocent civilian populations who've done nothing directly wrong to you. Who is right, who is wrong is a matter of personal opinion. That opinion will vary from person to person, but that is not our concern. Our concern is that when I ask you, was it right to drop the atom bombs? Whether you say yes or whether you say no, what are you doing? You are taking a decision regarding the morality of an action that happened 80 years back in the past. That is when we say that you're using your conscience. Number 1, it is not a feeling, it is not an emotion, it is an intellectual decision. Number 2, if conscience is an intellectual decision, the question is, what is the decision based on? Your conscience is based upon and is a reflection of your value system. And like your value system, your conscience is always open to change. But when we say that your conscience will change, it can change for the better, it may even change for the worse. As time goes by, in the future tomorrow, you might become better than who you are today, or you might even become worse. That's your basic theory. Now, to understand the concept, again, let me start with this part here. Your conscience is a reflection of your value system. Question is, what is your value system based on? Your value system is a product of many different factors. First and most importantly, your values depend upon your upbringing or your parenting. Number two, the kind of education you were given. Number three, the kind of socialization you had. Number four, the kind of role models you had. Number five, your peer group, and so on and so forth. On any of these parameters, if I compare any one of us with Indira Gandhi, I think Indira Gandhi scores much better than us. If you look at Indira Gandhi's parenting, who's her father? Jawaharlal Nehru. And what is Nehru's caliber? Nehru's caliber is such that each time that he was sent to jail, every time that he went to jail, his first priority was to ensure that his daughter's upbringing was not adversely affected. So each time that he went to jail, regularly, almost daily, he would write letters to his daughter. Those letters today have been published in the form of a small book. What is the book called? Glimpses of World History. That it's about 800, 900 pages thick. If you read that book, you'll be surprised by remembering two things. One, the person who was writing this book was sitting in jail at that time, did not have access. Of course, there was no internet, did not even have access to a library. Number two, when you read the book, you will realize that conceptually and factually, most of the book is absolutely accurate, is absolutely correct. That's the kind of parenting she receives. If you look at her education, where was she educated? Directly and indirectly under a person called Rabindranath Tagore at a place called Shantiniketan. If you look at her socialization, what kind of people did Indira Gandhi interact with? If you went to the Nehru house in Allahabad, or if you came to the house here in Delhi, who do you find inside the house? One day you will find Mahatma Gandhi. One day you will see Subhash Chandra Bose. One day you will see Sarojini Naidu. One day you will see, I don't know, Rabindranath Tagore or someone. These are the kind of people she interacts with regularly. For 1 week, just for 1 week, today is what, Friday. Let's say Vajiram tells you today that from Monday to Sunday, next week for 7 days, you people will not have GS classes. Every day, one of these people will come and speak to you. Monday, for example, you have a 2.5 hour interaction with Mahatma Gandhi. Tuesday, Subhash Chandra Bose. Wednesday, Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan. By next Sunday, you people will become more ethical than even me. And she interacts with these people every single day. This is the kind of background that Indira Gandhi comes from. This background, this upbringing, this socialization should give her a very good and a very positive value system. This positive value system she will show you for the first 9 years of her prime ministership between 1966 and 1975. In these 9 years, if you ask Indira Gandhi what decision would be considered morally right, the answer is very clear. In these 9 years, she thinks that a decision is morally correct if and only if it is beneficial for India. How do we know that? Because it is in these 9 years that you will accelerate your green revolution, that you will introduce your white revolution, that you will nationalize banks, that you will test atomic weapons, that you will fight and win a war against Pakistan. All of that will happen in these 9 years. Now, next 3 to 4 minutes, what I'm going to explain to you, this part understand well, then we'll come back to Indira Gandhi. Your conscience is based on your value system. Your understanding of what is morally right or wrong is again determined by your value system. Question that students ask is, can values change? Of course, the answer is yes. Second question that students ask is, how long does it take for a person's values to change, value system to change? Usually we say that it takes a relatively long period of time. Any changes in your value, any changes in your value system will not happen suddenly, will not happen abruptly. It's not that when you woke up in the morning, you were very corrupt, and by the evening, you miraculously become very honest. It's not that when you woke up in the morning, you were very, very courageous, and by the time you went to sleep at night, you have become extremely cowardly. Any changes in your value system will take time before the changes can be consolidated. Students again ask, is it possible for values to change in a relatively short span of time? Sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes The incident, the trigger, the catalyst can be so powerful that even in a relatively short span of time, there can be a significant transformation within a person. And to understand how your values can change significantly in a relatively short span of time, let me first take 3 students over here. That boy there, raise your hand in the middle. Yes, one. Let me take one student from over here who's going to answer my question. This girl here, Madhavi, raise your hand. 2. And one more student. That boy there, 3. You, my dear friend, will give them the example of an Indian king. This girl over here, this Madhavi, you will give them the example of a prince from Nepal. And that boy over there, you will give them the example of Mahatma Gandhi. And through these examples, what will these students do? They will help you understand how, in a relatively short span of time also, there can be a significant transformation within a person. Starting with this boy, please give them the example of an Indian king. Probably one of India's greatest kings. Emperor actually, not a king. Ashoka. Now, if you meet Ashoka the day before the Kalinga war, what will you call him? If you meet Ashoka the day before, I will call him Ashoka. That is very good. You will call him Chand Ashok. What is Chand Ashok? A bloodthirsty conqueror who wants to expand his empire no matter what the cost. If you meet him immediately after the Kalinga war, what will you call him? Dham Ashok. A person who's understood the error of his ways and genuinely has tried to find peace, is trying to propagate Buddhism. This transformation in Ashoka, does it take a long span of time or relatively short span of time? Relatively short span of time. Number 2, that girl over there. Yes, Madhavi. What is the question? Prince from Nepal. Example. Ankit, you are right. My different type, it's a very small name. Pragya Tripathi, you are right. My different type. Okay, she's still typing. It's just one word. That girl over there, with this boy over here. Prince from Nepal. Gautam Buddha. And when he was a prince, what was he called? Siddharth. When Siddharth was roughly about your age, had Siddharth seen any misery? No. Any suffering? No. Any sorrow? No. But in a relatively short span of time, Siddharth now sees 3 things. He sees an old person, he sees a person who's unwell, who's not healthy, and he sees a dead body. This now leads Siddharth to think, to introspect, and he realizes that there is only one truth in all our lives. What is the one truth in all our lives? That everyone is going to die. And Siddharth now starts wondering about the fact that if there is only one truth, that everyone has to die, then why are you miserable? Why are you suffering? Why are you worried? Accordingly, as he starts thinking about it, Siddhartha, now Buddha, starts understanding that the cause of all human suffering in one word is what? Is desire. And he devotes the rest of his life to finding out how this desire can be controlled and human misery can be resolved. This transformation in Siddhartha to Buddha, does it take a long period of time or relatively short span? Was Buddha married? Buddha was married. Buddha was not married. That boy over there, was Buddha married? Buddha was married. What is his wife's name? Mrs. Buddha. No. Yes. What is his wife's name? Yashodha or Yashodhara? Yashodhara. Did he have a child also? What is his son's name? Rahul. When he left his wife and his son behind, did he leave them in the middle of the day or the middle of the night? He literally walked out in the middle of the night. That's why we say sometimes a catalyst, the trigger, the incident can be extremely powerful. Where is that boy gone? Yes, Mahatma Gandhi. When he was thrown out of the train. When Gandhi was roughly your age, what did he want to become? A freedom fighter or a lawyer? A lawyer. But then one day he's thrown out of the train. Where did this incident happen? Kanpur or Nagpur? South Africa. Very, very good. What is the name of the railway station? St. Petersburg. That is in Russia. This is South Africa. They're thousands of kilometers apart. All of you are Indians? Why are you looking at me? Are you people Indians? Very good. Who's the father of the nation? He's saying Amit Shah. No, Mahatma Gandhi. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. Very good. Mahatma Gandhi was thrown out of the train at which railway station? Petermaritzburg. Even if you go there today, the exact spot where he fell, what they say it's the exact spot, you'll find a bronze bust of Mahatma Gandhi. The moment he's thrown out of the train, what does Gandhi realize? That if Indians are to have any rights, any dignity, it is essential that we get independence. What does he do? He goes back. What is his community in South Africa called? Tolstoy farm. Goes back there, starts experimenting with the principles of Ahimsa and Satyagraha, refines the principles, comes to India. When did he come back? 1915. comes to India in 1915, spends about a year traveling across the country, and completely immerses himself into India's freedom struggle. This transformation in Gandhi, does it take a long period of time or relatively short span of time? That is why we say that sometimes your values usually will take a long period of time to be consolidated. Sometimes the trigger, the incident, the catalyst can be so powerful that even in a relatively short span of time, there's a significant change within a person. Now, coming back to 1975, Indira Gandhi. In 1975, Indira Gandhi is the same person from the same background, still the Prime Minister. But in 1975, what will she do? She will impose upon the country a state of emergency. And for the next 2 years, severe excesses will be committed against the people of India. Now, if you ask Indira Gandhi, what do you think is morally right? The answer is changed. What is morally right is something that is good for the Prime Minister, for her family, for her party, not necessarily for the country or the constitution. This is why we say that your conscience is based upon, is a reflection of your value system. Like your value system, it is always open to change for the better, also for the worse. The 3 examples that these students gave you, they were positive examples. When I look at a person like Indira Gandhi, this example is changing, but changing for the worse. Before I move on, these 2 points first, is everyone clear? These 2 points over here, is everyone clear? All right. 3 and 4 then. Number 3, every person has the option to either listen to the voice of their conscience or to ignore the voice of their conscience, to act in accordance with it or against it. If you act in accordance with your conscience, you will enjoy a clear conscience. What is the advantage of a clear conscience? Number 1, you will be happy. Number 2, you will be enthusiastic. Number 3, you will be optimistic, and so on. If you deliberately and knowingly go against your conscience, you will suffer a troubled conscience. What is the problem with a troubled conscience? That you will suffer a harassed state of mind. Usually, you will be pessimistic, you will be very negative, and you will not be happy. In most cases, you will be agitated. If you look at these students here, I look at bigger examples later. Let me first start with you. Any batch over here at Vajiram, if you see the students in the first 1 month that they're here, these students at that time fall into the first category. They're happy, they're positive, they're optimistic, they're enthusiastic, they're very motivated. Why? Because at that point in time, they're listening to their conscience. Their conscience at that time, what does it tell them? That what is morally right is that you do justice to the investment that has been made in you and the opportunity that has been given to you. In the first, roughly for about the first 1 month, these students realize that their families have paid a lot of money to ensure that they can study over here. They realize that clearing this exam is based on only one factor, which is tremendous hard work. Without that hard work, they will not be able to pass. But as time goes by, batch after batch, you meet these people after 3 months, 5 months, 6 months. And I see this every year with every set of batches. The students become more and more agitated. They become more and more restless. They become more and more negative. Why? Because every single day, repeatedly, they're ignoring the voice of their conscience. On a higher level now, who will I talk about? I will not use the word bureaucrats. I will talk about people in India who are in public life. This could be a judge, this could be a journalist, this could be a bureaucrat, could be a politician. Most of the people in public life in India, do you think they're acting in accordance with their conscience or against their conscience? Most people in public life in India, are they acting in accordance with their conscience or against? Against. As a result of which, very often, they are not doing what they're capable of doing, and constantly they're in that negative scope of elements. For example, Neeraj Chopra won a gold medal in 2020 or 21, Tokyo Olympics 20. I don't remember whether it happened in 20 or 21. All of you over here are bureaucrats. Where are you working these days? Sports Authority of India. So my question to you is, before he won the gold medal, not after, before he won the gold medal, what did you do for Neeraj Chopra? And for most of you, the answer will be nothing. If there must be one boy in this batch or one girl in this batch, online plus offline, who has played some sport for their college, for their university, or maybe even for their district. Ask these students, whatever sport you played, does the state government or does the government give you adequate nutrition? Do you get 2 sources of protein in a day? Do you get 2 glasses of milk to drink in a day? If you're traveling from, let's say, Delhi to Bombay for some tournament, when you're traveling, will you be sent by first class AC? No. Will you be sent by air? No. How will you be sent? Second class, ordinary second class. When you are traveling, let's say there's a group of 20 people, will there be seat reservation for all 20 athletes? No. There'll be reservation for 4 or 5 of them. Who'll sit on those 5 seats? The coach and the coach's relatives or friends. Where will these people sit? They will sit on the floor. They will sit outside the toilet. They will drink water from Indian Railways toilets. When they reach the place where they're supposed to be competing, will they be given comfortable rooms to sleep in? No. Will they be given nutritious food to eat 2-3 times? Forget everything else. If you're running a 100 meters race or 400 meters for that matter, will the track be flat? Even that I cannot guarantee you. Right before I came for your class, I was just looking at the medal tally. Who's won? I didn't believe it myself. I was talking to Mr. Pathak. He was sitting there with me. He said 2. I said, no, sir, you are wrong. Then I checked and he was right. Since 1900 till today, 124 years have gone by. If you exclude team gold medals, which is hockey, India till date has won 2 individual gold medals. It is extremely shocking. I could not believe it myself. We won 2 in the last 124 years. A person like, have you heard of Michael Phelps? He has won 28 Olympic medals, 18 of which are gold. That is one man. This is an entire country with 150 crore people almost living over here. Question for you is, why are you people not giving them facilities? Why are you not giving them food? Why are you not giving them good stadiums? And they will say that, sir, very often I have to go against my conscience. Ask them, how do you have to go against? She is, for example, the sports secretary in some state. Why do you have to go against your conscience? She says that, sir, I have recently been given 30 crore rupees to improve the sports infrastructure in the state. But the minister is telling me that my daughter or my son is contesting the next elections coming up in 2025, Vidhan Sabha. Divert more and more money to those areas where my voters stay, where my vote bank is. And she says that, sir, if I do what you people ask me in class, that if I do not do that, sir, I will be transferred, I'll be harassed, I'll be victimized. The more you go against your conscience, the more harassed your state of mind, the more pessimistic you'll become, the more inefficient, unproductive you're likely to become. That is why we say that ideally, you must follow the voice, you must listen to the voice of your conscience. Fourth and finally, he's sitting. What is this? One moment. I think someone is giving me instructions. Right side first seat in the corner is a girl. The affection that one boy has for another is now coming from the screen also. There's a boy over here called Sham. Sir, can you ask all your questions to Amit Mishra? Who is Amit Mishra? You are Amit Mishra. Absolutely correct. He loves it when someone asks him question. I am sure that he's sitting right side, first seat in your corner. Thank you. Look at these people. I am saying conscience, improve sports, win 2 gold medals. God knows what I'm saying. He really likes you. Whoever this boy is, really likes you. And good thing. Let me not get into the personal lives. All well with. Why are you not sitting with him here? He's got a chair right now. Sham Singh. He's the boy who used to sit with you when you were sitting that side of the class. He started attending online. Oh, I remember these people. Very good. I'll come to you also in 5 minutes. I'll come back to you. He's not interested in the lecture, not interested in the exam. He's interested in Amit Mishra sitting over here. Really, I'm very touched by your affection and your emotions. Number 4, yes, you must listen to your conscience, otherwise you'll suffer a troubled conscience. Number 4, when we say that you should, and this point, please understand a little carefully and delicately. Understand the concept carefully now. When we say that you should listen to your conscience, you must remember that conscience itself is subjective in nature. What do you mean by subjective in nature? Your conscience is based on many factors, such as your parenting, such as your education, such as your socialization, such as your role models. Which is why, if a person receives good parenting, good education, your conscience, whatever it tells you to do, will also be beneficial for others. If your upbringing, if your socialization, if your education was bad, whatever your conscience tells you to do, invariably will be harmful or will be detrimental for the rest of the crowd. To understand that, let me start first with simple examples. If I look at a person, now these are positive examples, they're given in your handout somewhere. From an epic, Indian epic called Ramayana, if I look at a person called Vibhishan, Vibhishan leaves his brother and joins the camp of his brother's enemy. And when he does that, what is motivating him? His conscience. His conscience is telling him that your brother may be very wise, may be very brave, may be very courageous, all of that is fine, but your brother does not have the right to abduct someone's wife. And if he's abducting someone's wife forcefully, if he's not returning the wife back to her husband, it is your duty, your responsibility to support the person who's come here to fight a battle only to gain independence for his wife. And now, of course, what he's doing is also good. From the Second World War in Germany, I'm not sure how many of you have heard about him. Have you heard of a person called Oskar Schindler? Have you watched this movie called Schindler's List? If you haven't seen it, don't watch it now. Watch it after your means. Till then, study. Otherwise, they'll go and watch it today. It won the Oscar also. Oskar Schindler was a person who started the Second World War through what is called war profiteering. The Nazis were arresting and killing a lot of Jews. The businesses and the homes of the Jews were assigned to some German or the other. He was one of them, earned a lot of money. But within 2 to 3 years, Schindler started realizing that what the Nazis was doing was inhuman and brutal. Over the next 3 to 4 years, he spent his entire wealth, every single penny that he had, he spent all of that to save the life of 1,200 Jews. Now, Oskar Schindler, when he's trying to save the Jews, what is he doing? He is lying to his own government. He is going against his own country and a democratically elected government. And yet, why is he doing that? Because he is listening to his conscience that you cannot subject human beings to such brutal treatment. And what he's doing is good for the rest of humanity. Sometimes when you listen to your conscience, what you do may not be good, may not be beneficial for others. Here again, let me add a couple of examples. First example, another Indian epic is the Mahabharata. From there, we have a person called Karan. Now, Karan knows who's his friend? Duryodhan. What is Duryodhan's problem? You are jealous of your own cousins. You are so blinded by your jealousy that you're trying to disrobe your own sister-in-law in a public court. But Karan's conscience tells him that it is your duty to support your friend in his hour of need. Everything that you have, your name, your stature, your kingdom, your wealth, everything is because of your friend. Instead of correcting my friend, it is my duty to support my friend no matter what he's doing. Now he's guided by his conscience. What does it lead to? It leads to a terrible war and the destruction of the entire dynasty. If you look at a person, what the example I was giving you earlier also, Mahatma Gandhi on the one hand, Godse on the other. Godse has written an entire book. He's not written it actually. That was his court case. In the court, when he was presented for the trial of Mahatma Gandhi's murder, he gave a very long speech, very clearly detailing why he thought that what Gandhi had done to India and for India was wrong. Even today, Godse's ashes have not, Hindus, after they die, their bodies are cremated, the ashes are immersed into some river or the other. His ashes have not been immersed. His ashes, if memory serves me right, are lying in an urn in Pune with his family. And his last dying wish, his last will, was that my ashes should be immersed into the waters of the Indus River when the Indus flows through a unified India. With conviction, he believed that what he was doing was good for India. And yet we know that what he did, what is it remembered as? In one word, murder. All these students put over here, if I include their family wealth, all of them put together will not even come close to a person called Osama bin Laden. Bin Laden receives a very good education, is living a very comfortable, very luxurious life. He has the kind of wealth that if he travels to any country on the planet, every country will welcome him as a very valuable and a state guest. Why? Because he can bring with him millions of dollars worth of investment. But Bin Laden now with conviction believes that what the Americans are doing globally is wrong. And they deserve to be taught a lesson, they deserve to be corrected. He leaves that life of luxury, wealth, ostentation behind. Where does he go? To the caves of Afghanistan. And when he's doing that, please remember there's a terrible personal sacrifice that is involved. If I allow you people, any one of you, to live for 1 week with the kind of wealth he had, you'll probably not be able to come back to reality. He leaves all of that willingly and consciously. Why? Because he believes there's a higher purpose that he has to serve. What inspires him to identify and fight for that purpose? That again is his conscience. But he will be remembered again, not for the right, but for the wrong reasons. That is why we say that your conscience is subjective in nature, will vary from person to person. Now, if your conscience is subjective, if your conscience varies from person to person, the question is, why do people act on its basis? Because what their conscience tells them to do is right and is correct, at least for them. To understand that, where does that confidence, where does that passion, where does that sense of purpose come from? To understand that, let me just take one of these terms here. Let's say terrorist, and along with terrorist, let me say IPS officer. Simple question for you. If I ask you to compare a terrorist with an IPS officer, who do you think is better educated? Not always, but usually an IPS officer. Who has a stable career and a stable salary? IPS officer. Who enjoys respect and stature in society? IPS. All the questions, the answer is IPS, except one. Who do you think will be more willing to sacrifice everything, including his life, for the cause that he believes in? There, unfortunately, very often the answer turns to the terrorist. Why? Because the terrorist with moral conviction believes that it is his duty to overthrow an oppressive government or an oppressive regime. Where does this conviction come from? Where does your conscience come from? Parenting, upbringing, socialization, education, and so on. To understand that, please remember, what is right or what is wrong depends upon which side of the line you are standing on. On this side of the line, the answers would be very different. On that side of the line, the answers could be diametrically the opposite. I don't know how to draw, so I will not even try. But somewhere in the northern part of India, there is an imaginary line called the line of control. Have you heard about this? Yes. The region that is south of the line of control, what is that called? Right below the line of control, what do we call that region? Great people, line of control. What is this called? Jammu and Kashmir. South. North is called what? Pakistan occupied Kashmir. Now, why are you giving me these answers? You are giving me these answers because in 1947, your grandparents decided they wanted to stay on this side of the border. If your grandparents had decided to go to that side of the border, and I asked you the same question, your answers would be different. Here you would say that this is called Azad Kashmir. And here you would say this is called Indian occupied Kashmir, with conviction. Now, let me assume for a moment, there's a boy who's 20 years old. This boy was born in whatever you want to call it, Azad Kashmir or POK, born north of the LOC. For the last 20 years, this boy has grown up listening to just one thing. In his school, in his movies, in the media, from his family, he's just heard one thing, that if there is a paradise on this planet, that paradise is Kashmir. He has also heard that Kashmir has not seen peace in the last 75 years. Why? Because of the government of India and because of the Indian armed forces. In 1948, India used power, India used its military forces to forcibly occupy the region of Kashmir without giving the Maharaj of Kashmir a chance to decide where he wanted to go, Pakistan, India, or remain independent. He has also been told that India was given the choice. The UN said that you should have a plebiscite. First, please withdraw your ground forces. India refused to do that. He has also been told that even today, people living in what he calls IOK, Indian occupied Kashmir, are living under, what should I say, terrible human rights violations perpetrated every day by the government of India and the armed forces. So he has been told that your greatest purpose in life, if you are a true Pakistani, or a true Kashmiri for that matter, your greatest purpose in life should be to liberate these people from the oppression of the Indians. At the age of 20, what is this boy called? This boy today is called, let's say, Ajmal Kasab. At the age of 20, he is given 3 months worth of training. He is given an assault rifle. He's given some explosives. He will leave his country knowing fully well that he will never go back. But when he comes over here, what is driving him? What is driving him is that moral conviction that what he is doing is serving a very high purpose. This is why we say that even if you believe, even if your conscience tells you that there is something right that you're supposed to be doing, something that is morally correct, it may be morally correct for you, not necessarily for the others. This is why, because it is subjective in nature, this is why we say that given a choice between your conscience on the one hand and laws, rules and regulations on the other, what would we prefer? We would prefer to obey the law. The law represents the collective codified conscience of the nation, which is why given a choice between the two, we would prefer to give, or we would choose laws, rules and regulations rather than only an individual's conscience. These 2 points over here, is everyone clear? These two, does everyone follow? Clear? Good. If you have a good conscience, if you have a well-educated conscience, this conscience will also give you some benefits. But first, what do you mean by high order, well-educated, good conscience? In one simple benchmark, where your conscience focuses on collective public welfare above your self-interest. Any decision which is aligned with your constitution, any decision that promotes long-term sustainable collective public welfare, if you focus on that, then we'll say that you have a good, well-educated conscience. Where you have a good conscience and where you listen to the voice of your conscience, there it will always give you 5 benefits. Number 1, and I think this should be easy, but if you don't understand, ask me. Number 1, a good conscience will enable you to enact, amend, and repeal laws, rules, and regulations in a judicious manner. For example, and who will have this conscience? This could be a politician, could be your judge, or could be a bureaucrat. For example, in India, we have enacted a law to prohibit manual scavenging. We've repealed a law that criminalized homosexuality. And what enables you to do that? That is your conscience. Number 2, it is your conscience that will determine how laws, rules, and regulations will be interpreted according to the prevailing circumstances. For example, this is within the last week or 10 days, this is either Bengal or Odisha, one of these 2 states. The governor had to go somewhere. He left Raj Bhavan. Before the government could cross, there's a particular road. Before he could reach that road, there was an ambulance driving on the road. The policeman stopped the ambulance and kept the ambulance waiting for the next 7 to 8 minutes. Although the governor was not going for something very important, he's going for some routine work, some routine meeting somewhere. In contrast, that's one way. In contrast, I think this is March or April earlier this year, when the canvassing for elections was going on, the Prime Minister was visiting Varanasi. There's a road show going on, a lot of people, lot of traffic. The Prime Minister saw, in the distance, he saw some ambulance. He stopped his cavalcade, got his cavalcade to shift towards one direction, and first allowed the ambulance to pass. How you interpret VIP protocol, how you interpret laws, rules, and regulations, again, whether in the right or the wrong manner, will again depend upon your conscience. Third, if you listen to the voice of your conscience, it will help you resolve conflicts. Last class, one case that we looked at was the case of that girl, I think Fatima was her name, where a company was discharging a lot of pollutants into a nearby river. Now and at the same time, she could not afford to lose her job because there was some, I don't know, financial crisis at home. At that point in time, it is your conscience that will help you understand what a resolution to that conflict would be. For example, in this case, what can you do? If nothing else, you can at least become a whistleblower. Fourth, this is the question many students ask me later. So here itself, let me explain a little more carefully. Your conscience will keep the system deontologically strong. Now, if I look at conscience on the one hand and laws, rules, and regulations on the other, laws, rules, and regulations are aligned with the deontological theory, and this is the teleological theory. Your judgment, your opinion. Regardless of being aligned with the teleological theory, conscience keeps the system deontologically strong. How does it keep it deontologically strong? Because if laws become outdated, if laws become redundant, if laws seem detrimental for public welfare, it is your conscience that will help you understand that the laws need to be changed. It will also help you understand how the laws can be changed. Let me take one example. 377 we've discussed earlier. For today, let me look at 66A. Section 66A of the IT Act does not exist. It has been repealed. It has been, why was it repealed? Because a young lawyer in India called Shreya Singhal filed a public interest litigation. Why did she file a public interest litigation? I think this was 2016 or 17. Shreya Singhal says that I was sitting at home one day and I was watching the news. On the news, I got to know that 2 small girls, small in the sense about 19, 20 years old, 2 girls had been arrested by the police in Maharashtra. Why had they been arrested? This was around the time that Bal Thackeray had passed away. One of these girls living in Bombay went on Facebook and wrote something critical about Bal Thackeray. The second girl did not write anything. She was living in Pune. The second girl only liked the post. But Section 66A, when it existed, provided that if you make any critical or defamatory statement against a public figure, you can be punished very strictly. Within a matter of days, both these girls were picked up by the police. They were taken to the police station. Formal case was filed against them. They were not kept in jail. They were released after a few hours. But if the police has filed a formal charge against you, you think it will be easy for these 2 girls to complete their education, pursue a higher education, or get a good job? No. Shreya Singhal said that was the day I realized that there are politicians in India who are publicly making hate speeches. There are politicians standing inside Vidhan Sabhas, inside the Lok Sabha, who use abuses, who use casteist statements, sexist statements. Nobody questions them. But common citizens are having to suffer because of this very old and very draconian law. She files a PIL. What happens? Section 66A is repealed. And when you repeal it, what are you doing? You are keeping the system deontologically strong. You are ensuring that those laws are present in the country, which again, on a sustained basis, can promote public welfare. And fifth and finally, it is your conscience that will help you maintain a balance between your rights on the one hand and your duties on the other. In 1975, when Indira Gandhi imposes the emergency, what is she focusing on? Her rights as the Prime Minister. In 1977, when she revokes the emergency, when she calls for elections, what is she remembering? Also her duties. And what enables you to maintain that balance? Again, your conscience. Which is why we say that every person should educate their conscience according to their responsibilities. And if you're not willing to do that, within the bureaucracy, within the government, what measures we have, that we'll discuss in class number 9, the next class that we have. For now, these 5 points over here, is everyone clear? 23 goals, Michael Phelps, very good. Following conscience over the law can also lead to pulling back of incorrect legislation. So when to choose law, when to choose conscience? Yes, that's a good question. If you are preparing and if you perceive yourself in the capacity of a bureaucrat, under all circumstances, laws, rules and regulations, if you think that you are a social activist or a social reformer, then you can adhere to your conscience. No, and I'm not saying this with any trying to criticize, I'm telling you very seriously. This is what students ask me in class, that sir, if I'm working as a government servant, if the government is doing something wrong, what are you doing wrong? I have received orders from my seniors that in some particular area, 5,000 trees have to be cut down because we're going to, I don't know, we're going to make some factory there, some special economic zone. And the student says that, sir, I believe that this is wrong, this is irreversible, what can I do? As a bureaucrat, you can do nothing. You can only go within the established protocol, within the established channels. So please file a complaint. Please go to the NGT, file a complaint with the Supreme Court of India. You can do that. But you cannot go and complain about this in public. On the other hand, if you're a social reformer or a social activist, who's a social activist? This could be Anna Hazare. 100 years back, you could be Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Then you can criticize the government. Then you can listen to your conscience. And when you listen to your conscience, in slightly better terms, what will this be called? This will be called civil disobedience. As a bureaucrat, you cannot do that. There's a lady in India called Aruna Roy. Aruna Roy says that this government and this country will not be able to function unless and until people are given more information. On her aspect, on her part, she tries to share information with the people. Beyond a certain point, she cannot share it. Why? Because she's governed by the Official Secret Act. So one day, what does she do? She says that the IAS will not let me work. She resigns from there. After resigning, she becomes an activist for the right to information, instrumental in giving Indians the RTI. Arvind Kejriwal, when he was in the revenue service, believed that in India, tax laws were very opaque. Filing tax returns was very difficult. He started an NGO called Parivartan, if I remember correctly. Started an NGO called Parivartan, helped people in filing their tax returns, but very soon realized that beyond a point, it was not making a difference. Then he said that the only way that you can change a country, improve a country, is by making good laws. That's what he thought. What did he do? He resigned from the IRS. And please remember at that time when he got into the IRS, the total number of vacancies in this exam would be roughly about 180. If you wanted a service like the IRS, you would need a rank in the top 50. You people have about 1,000 vacancies. IRS goes on till 100. That was the caliber of this man when he was in government services. But within the government, he knew beyond a point he could not work. He could not criticize the government. What does he do? He leaves the government, leaves the bureaucracy, becomes an independent citizen, contests election, go to the Delhi Vidhan Sabha, and now you can pass any law that you want. So when you ask me, what should I choose? If you are a person of the stature of Mahatma Gandhi, if you are Jawaharlal Nehru, then I can trust your conscience. I'll make you the Prime Minister. You decide what is right for India. But I do not know that about you. You're 22, 23, 25 years old. So when you're a bureaucrat, you will always follow the laws and procedures. If you think that your conscience is more important for you, then you should join politics. You should become a journalist. You should become a social activist, not as a bureaucrat. All right. There you will give preference to the law. Is everyone clear about this? Everyone? Good. Then this is what was left over from class number 6. 7 was the class on case studies, and today, Today, we'll look at one more section from your syllabus, which is work culture. Before I start with this class, before I start with this work culture, let me just give you a small break by asking you people to write a little. Please write a little, then I'll explain what work culture is. Please write work culture. Work culture. Under this, please write. Under this, please write. Work culture can be understood. Work culture can be understood as the system of individually and collectively shared meanings of work, comma, as understood by the members of an organization at a given time. Full stop. In other words, comma, it refers to the members' understanding. Regarding the values, practices, and objectives of an organization. Full stop. Such an understanding helps the members determine what the organization wants to accomplish, and how they should conduct themselves. To help in achieving these objectives. Next paragraph. The basic features of work culture. Are number one, it is inherently abstract in nature. Full stop. It is not codified. Same point. It is not codified or prescribed in the form of rules. Full stop. It shapes the perceptions. Of the employees. Through their interactions, observations, and experiences at the workplace. Interactions, observations, and experiences at the workplace. And that is enough of a break for now. Now let me come back over here. Today's class, we're looking at just one topic, which is work culture. To be honest with you, this topic is simple and straightforward. There's nothing difficult, nothing great about it. But as the one word that you've written also, the topic is somewhat abstract, which is why we'll divide the class into 4 parts. 3 and 4 are simple. They're largely a list of points. The parts that I actually need you to understand inside the class with me, in fact, not even the second one. First one, I need you to understand very carefully. Second one is also, yes, to some extent you need the concept. Third and fourth are largely a list of points. I'll put it up in your handout. By the way, the handout has not been given to you. You'll get the handout on Sunday. On Sunday evening or Monday morning, you'll get the handout. These two are relatively simple. These two over here, especially the meaning, features, type also, impact also actually. First two over here, understand carefully with me. Right now, as we start with the discussion, let me also show you what is going to come up. First, I'll start with the meaning of work culture, which is what you people have briefly written down. Then I'll show you 2 small scenarios in between to help you understand what exactly this culture is, how it is not codified. Then we'll take a look at these 5 features over here. And then we'll undertake a small comparison of administrative cultures in India in the past as compared to now. Covering this much is going to take me about 25 odd minutes, 20-25 minutes. These 20-25 minutes, don't worry about what is given here. It is all in your handout. First, listen to me carefully and understand the basic concept. In the next 20 odd minutes, what do I need you to understand? Number one, I need you to understand that work culture is not written down, not codified. And yet, number two, it has a very powerful influence on an individual as well as on an organization. Everything else is secondary. Next 20 minutes, first understand just these 2 elements here. All right. Now to understand this, let me start first with the theoretical part. What is work culture? Work culture is your understanding. When you're part of an organization, your understanding regarding what the values, what the objectives of an organization are, and how you should behave yourself to help in achieving those objectives. In fact, forget that also. Let me put it in a simple manner so that you understand the concept. What is work culture? When an individual becomes part of an organization, very soon this individual starts understanding that in this organization there are certain ways in which you should behave, certain ways in which you should not behave. If you behave in a particular manner, you will be appreciated, you will be rewarded, you will rise in the organization. But if you behave in a manner that is considered undesirable, very soon your progress in that organization, even your survival in that organization, will be threatened. A very powerful, probably the most powerful instinct in most human beings is what? The survival instinct. And to ensure my survival and my growth in that organization, very soon, I will start behaving in a manner which I think is acceptable or desirable in that organization. I will not care whether I'm doing the right or the wrong thing as long as it maintains my survival and that growth in that organization. This understanding of how you should or should not behave, nobody is giving it to you in writing. Nobody is discussing this with you in a meeting. Nobody is sending you a message to tell you that you should or should not do something. This understanding, unwritten, unstated, abstract, of how you should or should not behave yourself, this is what we call the culture of an organization. And this behavior has a very powerful influence on an individual as well as on the organization. That is your basic simple understanding. To help you understand this further, let me add a couple of simple examples, simple scenarios here. Left hand side, scenario number 1. Somewhere in India, this one person, let's say some man, some boy, very honest person, joins a very powerful government organization. Now, when he joins this organization, he realizes that at the end of the day, at about 5 o'clock every day, all the employees in this organization get a daily cut. What is a daily cut? Whatever work this who are these people? This could be the police department. This could be the NGT. This could be some environmental department, forest department, tax department, I don't know who. Every single day, the employees in this office get their daily cut. The smallest amount of money is 5,000 rupees. At the higher level, as your rank in the hierarchy rises, the senior people even get up to 2 to 5 lakh rupees per day. This boy is very honest. He comes from a decent family, God-fearing person. So this person refuses to accept the money. When he refuses to accept the money, he realizes that from that moment onwards, everyone in the office starts ignoring him. From that day onwards, nobody in the office speaks to him, nobody in the office interacts with him. If there are three people standing somewhere discussing something, if he goes and stands next to them, they quietly walk away from there. If there are three people sitting at a table eating their lunch, if he sits down at the table, nobody abuses him, nobody threatens him, they just pick up their plates and they go and sit somewhere else. What are they doing? They're taking away from him the one thing every human being needs the most, which is the need for human contact. If you want to harass a person, you should give that person a lot of work. If you really want to harass a person, you should give that person absolutely no work. From that day onwards, this boy stops getting any work. He reaches office at about 9:30 in the morning, stays there till about 5 in the evening. All day long, not one file, not one piece of paper is sent to his table. What does he do? All day long, blankly looks at the wall. If he tries using his phone, if he tries to study something, tries to read a book, someone politely tells him, this is not your drawing room, this is the government office, please don't do these kind of activities here. After maybe a few weeks, after maybe a few months, this boy cannot deal with the pressure, cannot deal with the harassment anymore. One day, finally, he tells the others that I'm willing to accept the money. From the day that he starts accepting the money, everyone's behavior again changes. Everyone is very friendly, is very courteous, are willing to speak to him, eat with him. Question for you is, when this boy starts accepting the money, who told him? What is this called in one word? This case in one word is called what? Corruption. When this boy, honest person, joined, within a few weeks, within a few months, started accepting bribes, who told him to accept the bribe? Did someone speak to him? No. Did someone threaten him? No. Did someone give him a written rule or a written message? No. Then what has pushed him, directed him into the direction of corruption? That is what you call work culture. To understand that work culture slightly better, forget about this boy. In this case, please think about the fact he doesn't want to accept money. Why are the rest of the people not talking to him? All the other employees in the organization, someone could be at the lowest level in the hierarchy, someone could be at a senior level in the hierarchy. Nobody is willing to talk to him. Who told them that you should not talk to this person? Nobody. On their own, they started understanding that there are certain behaviors that would be considered desirable or undesirable in this organization. This is what you call the culture of an organization, not written, not codified, and yet a very powerful influence upon an individual. Similarly, somewhere, let's say in Delhi, a girl joins an office. Could be government, could be a private organization. This is her first job, and this girl, since she was in school and college, has always been punctual. Now, the timings in this office are 10 in the morning to 5 in the evening. First job, the girl doesn't want to make any mistake. So for the first few weeks, she reports for work at 9:30. Sharp 9:30, she's at the office. She organizes her, her files and her paperwork, gets mentally prepared. 10 o'clock, she's ready to start working. But this girl realizes that although she reaches at 9:30, she still cannot do her work well. Why? Because to do her work well, she has to coordinate with others. And the other people in the office do not reach. Nobody comes till 10:30. At 10:30, slowly the people start coming in. One person comes at 10:30, another one comes at 11 o'clock, another one comes at 11:15, and nobody is stopping them, nobody is scolding them. If you meet this girl after 3 weeks, after 3 months, after some period of time, high probability, even she will not be coming on time. Now, punctuality is very important, especially for a country like India. Who told this girl that she can start coming late? Nobody. Who told her to come late? Nobody. Then where did this change come from? That change is coming from what we call your work culture. Based on your interactions, based on your experiences, based on your observations at your place of work, very soon you start realizing that if you want to exist, if you want to continue, if you want to rise in an organization, there is a certain way in which you should or a certain way in which you should not behave. This is what you refer to as the culture of an organization, and this culture has a very strong influence upon an individual. Sometimes, in addition to the given rules, both the examples that I was showing you, what was happening there, in opposition to the given rules. There is no rule on the planet which will say that government employees can take bribes. There is no rule on the planet that government employees should deliberately come late. And yet, why are they doing that? Because the influence can even work against the rules in opposition to the rules. This work culture now has 5 basic features for us to consider. Number 1, and hopefully the first point you should understand now, it is not written, not codified. How do you develop this understanding? Your experiences, your interactions, your observations at your place of work. One small question over here. Of the dozens of places where you could have gone to prepare for this exam, why have you people come to Vajiram? There could be different students would have different reasons. The honest truth I'm telling you, why do students come here? They don't know about the teachers. They don't know the quality of teaching. They don't know how relevant it will be for the exam. They come here because of the Vajiram culture. What culture do we have over here? A very serious and a very academic culture. That when you're a student studying over here, or whether you're a person who's taking the classes over here, you're not supposed to be wasting time. If a person does not have the mental ability to deal with the standard of this examination, they should realize very early on that this exam is not their cup of tea. If you're not in the mood to study, what should you do? Please stay back at home. Don't create a nuisance for others. This is why students come over here, so that no matter what, at least these 10 to 11 months, they should be able to spend their time purposefully in a direction which is actually focused on the exam. This is what we call the culture of an organization, which is, have you noticed the size of you are still a small batch. You people must be how many people over here? About 250 people here, another 100 odd people online. The bigger batches we have over here sometimes have 400, sometimes have 500 students. And yet 2.5 hours is a long period of time. It's a long class. In the 2.5 hours, have you ever noticed any nuisance or indiscipline inside the classroom? No. And that's not because of the person taking the class. That is because of the student sitting over here. Every single student knows that we've come here for only one work, to study in a manner that enables us to pass the exam. Not written, based on your experiences, interactions, and observations. Number 2. This point now, 3 and 4 you'll understand easily. 5th is also relatively simple. Second point over here, now understand carefully with me. The culture of an organization creates or sometimes fails to create a sense of identity, sense of purpose for its employees. Where you create a sense of identity, sense of purpose for your employees, there the employees and the organization will be able to perform well. If you fail to create that sense of identity, the organization will not be productive, will be highly inefficient. That's your basic theory. Now, to understand the concept, when we say create a sense of identity, what does this mean? The work culture should help the employees understand what is the fundamental objective of that organization. What is the fundamental purpose that you're trying to achieve? In India, unfortunately, most of our organizations, government as well as private organizations, they are not able to create a sense of purpose. They're not able to create a strong sense of identity. As a result of which, in our country, most of us treat our work only as a means to an end, not as an end in itself. What does this mean? That any work that these people want to do, they are more concerned with what they will get out of the work rather than also what they're supposed to contribute. A few minutes back, I asked you, I said, what do you people want to do? And I said, different people will give different answers. One person will say, I want to become a bureaucrat. I want to play some sport. I want to become an actor. I want to become an entrepreneur. Whatever these people want to become, ask them a second question. Why do you want to become that? Why do you want to contest elections? Why do you want to become a bureaucrat? Why do you want to start your own business? And again, they will give you different answers. One person will say that, sir, I want to enjoy power and authority. Another person will say that, sir, I want to earn a lot of money. Another person will say that, sir, I want to buy a big house for my parents. Another person will say that, sir, I want to teach my relatives a lesson, something or the other. Different people have different intentions. When they give these answers, you are completely justified in whatever your motivation is, but this is what you will get from the work. Are you not joining a profession because you also want to do something in that work? All these people, whether they want money, they want power, they want job security, financial security, they're talking about using their work as a means to an end, not as an end. Which is why tomorrow when these people start working, wherever they're working, they will not be able to excel. Because they will not desire to be good at their work. They will only desire, the only thing that they want is to get something out of that job itself. These Indians who are sitting here, and I'm assuring you, every single student, online plus offline, in just one attempt, has the potential, every one of you has the potential to clear this exam. Most of you will not be able to clear the exam. Why? Because you're treating this exam only as a means to an end, not as an end. For 1 year of your life, treat it as an end, you'll clear it almost immediately. The Irony about Indians is that if you keep these Indians within India, they achieve almost nothing. Take the same Indians, send them outside of this country, and these people are capable of achieving miracles. But their educational background is the same, their religion is the same, their family is the same, their mindset, mentality is the same. How is it that they do nothing inside India and they achieve miracles outside? Because outside, the cultures that they find in their organizations create a strong sense of purpose, they create a strong sense of identity. I'm sure all of you got good educations. In India, at the graduate level, if there are two organizations, two institutions that stand out, the first is called our IITs, the second are called our IIMs. If you're an IIT IIM graduate, I don't think there would be any organization on this planet which will not be willing to give you an employment. Once you have these two sets of alphabets on your CV, you apply anywhere you want in the world, they will at least call you for an interview. That's the least they will do for you. Surprisingly, IIT IIM graduates, where are they wanted in this world? They're wanted by companies like Apple, Microsoft, Google, Tesla, CERN, NASA. You name the company and they will be aspiring to hire people like you. Surprisingly, we have a lot of IIT IIM graduates living in India itself. But these IIT IIM graduates in India are able to, what are these people abroad able to achieve? They are able to bring about innovations. You look at any Fortune 500 company, there is one common nationality which you will find in the senior levels of management. What is that nationality called? India. But the same Indians, when they're living in India, are able to achieve almost nothing. Over here, what do? They build a road. The road does not last 2 monsoons. They build a car which nobody wants to buy. They write a book which nobody wants to read. They make movies which nobody wants to watch. Why? Because here I'm doing it for the money, for the fame, for the popularity, for the authority. I'm not doing it because I want to excel at my work. To take a small example, let's say in your batch, there is this one student, some girl, who's an IIT IIM graduate. Now I asked this girl, where do you want to? I'm going to put you in a private organization. Where do you want to work? This girl says that, sir, in India, private organization, I want to work for Infosys in Bangalore. Let's say we get her a job over there. She works for 2 years. 2 years later, I asked this girl, are you happy with Infosys? She says, yes, sir, very happy. Ask her, why are you happy? Indian in India, what will she say? She will say that, sir, I'm happy because number one, at Infosys, the infrastructure is excellent. Number two, the company does not focus on professional satisfaction, they focus on holistic well-being. So I'm mentally also very happy, very content. Number three, she will say that, sir, in 2 years, I've already got 2 promotions, 2 increments. Compared to my starting salary, I'm earning 40% more today, and so on. But if you are happy at Infosys, in the last 1 minute that I gave you to speak, you are just telling me what Infosys has done for you. In 2 years that you've been working over here, have you not done one single thing that you are proud about, that you are happy about? What have you done for the company? But that she will not think about. Why? Because the Indian is in India, treating the work as a means to an end. Same girl, IIT IIM combination, ask her, where do you want to work on a global level? She says that's a global level. I think I would want to work for, let's say, Google in California. We get her a job there. Leave her there for 2 years. 2 years later, ask her, are you happy? Again, she says yes. Ask her, why are you happy? I assure you, if you compare Bangalore and California, in Google at California, the standard of living, the kind of facilities, the salary, everything will be much better. But now the girl will not say any of these. Ask her, why are you happy? And she will say that, sir, I've been here for 2 years. In 2 years, Google has allowed me to work on 3 different projects. And she will also tell you that, sir, I'm a little embarrassed to admit all 3 projects have failed. Now ask her that if all 3 projects have failed, then why are you happy? And she will say that, sir, I'm happy because despite 3 failures, they have allowed me to work on a 4th project. And I assure you, if the 4th project is successful, it will revolutionize the way mankind lives. Any groundbreaking invention, any groundbreaking progress which has come in the last 50, 70, 90 years has not come from India. It has come from somewhere else. In the 1980s, mid-1980s, there's a company called Microsoft. What do? They create a simple disk operating system called MS-DOS. And from that day onwards, we don't use the word personal computers, we just say computers, because every person on the planet has the ability to not only purchase, they also have the ability to operate a computer. Somewhere in the late 90s, there's a person called Steve Jobs, sits around, I don't know what he's tinkering around with. He makes a small smartphone. He does not know that in another 15 years, Using the platform that Apple has created, a vegetable vendor in India will be able to sell vegetables for 17 rupees and accept the payment digitally because of the platform you are creating. But why are these people able to create it? Because they don't care what their net worth is. They don't care how much money they're making. They don't care what job they're doing. They only care that they excel at their job. When you go home today, the other day I had an argument with a couple of my friends. For some reason, I don't know what the course of the discussion was, but we were just trying to figure out where Indians are doing well. And we talking about this small little country called Japan. And we were just trying to calculate how many globally renowned companies Japan has. And the names kept coming on. 1, Honda. Number 2, Mitsubishi. Number 3, Toyota. Number 4, Sony. Number 5. And the names went on. Then we try to count from India, how many companies, how many brand names can we give, which the entire world knows about. You go to the US also, and you say that I'm buying a TV which is made by Sony. The world will say that yes, it's a good quality TV. Someone might say Samsung is better, but Sony nobody will say is bad. What is the one product India makes which the world wants to buy? Nothing. Someone over here will say it's a Jaguar. Jaguar is a Tata company. It's not an. It's acquired by the Tatas. It's not an Indian brand. It's a fundamentally British brand. Someone will say Land Rover. The same thing. Tetley. Same thing. What is the one book you've written in the last 20 years which the world wants to read? What is the one song that you've written that the world wants to sing? What is the one building that you made in the last 20 years, 50 years, 80 years that the world? And please don't forget, it's not that you're not capable. Because in the past, you have made things which even today, 100, and I'm not talking about the Taj Mahal. Who's from Bihar over here? Bihar. Sher Shah Suri's tomb is in which Sasaram. You go and see that district today. You see, when you go home, you see the photographs of that monument. You'll be surprised by what these Indians were building 500 years back. And today you people cannot build a road which lasts even one monsoon. Why? Because you don't take pride in your work. Your work is only a means to an end. Because your culture. And the same Indians are performing miracles when you send them outside. Which is why we say that number 2, the culture of an organization should create a sense of identity, a sense of purpose by helping the employees understand fundamentally what are they here to achieve, the importance, the value of their work. Third and fourth, let me take one example to explain both of them. The culture of an organization shapes the mentality of the employees. The culture of an organization is an indicator of the credibility, of the trust, of the reputation that the company or the organization enjoys. And let me take one example to explain both of them in one brief manner. 2 Indian companies I'm talking about here. First is the Tata Group, second is Reliance. If I ask you to compare these 2 organizations, where do you think the profitability is higher, Tata or Reliance? Reliance. Who do you think is diversifying at a faster rate, Tata or Reliance? Reliance. Who do you think is growing at a faster rate, Tata or Reliance? Reliance. All the answers are Reliance. But if I ask you to take your family's lifetime savings and invest it into one of these 2 companies for the next 10 years, where do you think your money will be safe, with Reliance or with Tata? Year after year, batch after batch, without hesitation, instantly, student after student gives the same answer, Tatas. Ask these students, what do you know about the Tatas? They know nothing. Ask them, what is the annual profit of the Tata Group? They don't know. How many employees do they have? They don't know. How many products do they manufacture? They don't know. Yet with confidence, they believe that they are safer dealing with the Tatas as compared to Reliance. On what basis are they giving the answer? On the basis of their understanding, their perception regarding the Tata work culture. They believe that with the Tatas, no matter what, the company will not focus only on profits, they will also maintain a certain degree of responsibility towards them. With Reliance, they believe that yes, you might grow very quickly, you might grow exponentially also. Beyond a certain point, there's a high degree of vulnerability, insecurity also that is attached. Where is that coming from? Again, the culture of the organization. Fifth and finally, it is the culture of the organization that will determine the interpretation and the implementation of laws, rules, and regulations. On paper, laws, rules, and regulations can only tell you what is permitted or what is prohibited. But to what extent you obey the rules, ignore the rules, or violate the rules will depend upon the culture of the organization. And to understand that, here, let me take a small example. Somewhere in the country, in some state of India, there are some protests that are going on. against some government policy. The protest is happening at two places. Number one, outside the Vidhan Sabha, and number two, outside a university in the same city. Outside the Vidhan Sabha, opposition MLAs are protesting. Outside the university, people like you, students, are protesting. The police is told to go and control both the protest. Question number one, who do you think is more likely to misbehave with the police or assault the police, a student or an MLA? MLA. Number two, if I say that there has been a lathi charge, where do you think the lathi charge happened? At the university or at the Vidhan Sabha? At the university. The question is why? When you know that the students are not going to say anything to you beyond a point, then why are you doing that? Because of the organization culture. And what culture do we have in India? Not even VIP, we have a VVIP culture. What is a VVIP culture? That the law of the country is very clear that if you take the law into your own hands, you deserve to be punished. But to what extent you ignore, obey, or violate the law will depend upon the culture. In a VVIP culture, what happens? If a person who's a public figure, if a person who's influential, if a person is a celebrity, if this person commits a violation, the treatment will be very different, usually lenient, as compared to if the same mistake is committed by a common citizen. Which is why the extent to which how you interpret, how you implement the laws, rules and regulations, again, will be determined by the culture. In India, in the last 70 or almost 80 odd years now, the reason for most of our problems is not laws, rules and regulations, it is deteriorating cultures. In the last few years, in the last few decades rather, laws, rules and regulations are improving in quality and quantity, but organizational cultures are becoming worse. In fact, this I'll just come to in a minute. First, these 5 points over here, is everyone clear? Yes. When every single person in the organization without being, okay, let me put this differently. Let's say you are who are you? You are a very lazy person, but for some reason, you end up working in an organization. Where are you working these days? You are working with, what is a good organization in India? Takes a lot of time to think about good places in India. One good organization, which you are working with, ISRO, for some reason. He is an engineer, very lazy, very careless, very casual. Ask him, what do you want from life? He says one thing. He says, I want to earn a lot of money. He applies to the IIMs, does not get in over there, gives the CAT 2 or 3 times, does not clear the exam, tries to go for a couple of job interviews in private companies, nobody accepts him. One day, finally, ISRO comes up with a advertisement. God knows how his luck shines that day, and he gets into ISRO. Lazy, careless, casual, driven by money, motivated by money. He goes to ISRO, and you work in ISRO for about 3 months. In the 3 months, when you look around yourself, you realize that every single person, bottom to top, is focusing on only one thing, that India's stature in the field of space and space research related developments should keep increasing. People are talking about space launches that are going to happen after 8 years, 10 years, 15 years, despite the fact that they're getting very, what should I say, very mediocre salaries compared to the private sector especially. If I meet you after 3 months, either you will be resigning from ISRO or you'll become one of them. You'll be equally committed. Who has created that sense of purpose for you? That is your organizational culture, because every single person is behaving in a similar manner. Unfortunately, the same sense of identity, same sense of purpose can also be exactly the opposite. We've not come to that point, but briefly, he doesn't join ISRO, he joins, can you name a corrupt government organization? I don't know. Someone or the other will get offended. Let me say some organization called X. Extremely corrupt. He's very honest. If you ask him who's your hero, he says Mahatma Gandhi. If you ask him whose photographs do you have in your room, your brother or your sister, he says Mahatma Gandhi, Subhash Chandra Bose, that kind of a person. He joins this organization. Every single day, he notices that people who are even 4 or 5 ranks subordinate to him take home huge amounts of money or huge amounts of bribe. Leave him in that organization for a few months, high probability after some time, even you will start doing the same. Where is the difference or the influence coming from? Again, your culture. That your purpose is not public welfare, is not public safety. What is your purpose? Only self-interest. Have you been to the other Vajiram building in the recent days? After that tragedy happened, have you gone there? Can I say even today morning there's a lot of policemen over there? Yes. When you look at the policemen, can I say in India, we feel very safe and very reassured when you see a khaki uniform? No. We feel extremely vulnerable. We feel that we are not really sure when one of these people will turn around and will start harassing you. After the class, if it is not raining, stand outside Vajiram for 5 minutes. The other building where these cops are standing, open your register on the footpath. Just stand there and read something from your register for 3 to 4 minutes. If there's a policeman observing you, high probability he'll come to you and not politely, very rudely he will ask you, what is your problem? Why are you standing here? Within 3 to 4 minutes. Why? Because I realize what is my fundamental purpose. It is not to serve these people, not to make them feel protected. It is to dominate, it is to exploit, and it is to utilize these people for my advantage. That is what we would call a bad organization then. All right? Any minutes over here? Clear? Good. In the last few decades, in India, our problem is not that we don't have good laws. We are creating more and more laws. We are creating more and more organizations. Problem is that we are neither able to give adequate attention to, nor are able to improve the cultures. When you look at this, first, this table you will use, this will be given in your handout also. This you use in 2 forms. Comparing India in the past with how India is today. And number two I'll tell you later. Let me first explain this on a simple level. When I say then, for your reference, what is then? Let me say 1947 and let me go on till Lal Bahadur Shastri, which is 1966. If you look at India in the first 20 years after independence and you compare it with how it is now, you will realize, here I'm talking about the government largely, you will realize that there's a huge difference between the cultures that we had then as compared to the cultures that we have today. Here, let me specifically, this is the bureaucrat, this is the judge, this is the politician also. Let me specifically talk about the bureaucrat for now. If you look at the attitude within the bureaucracy, in the first 20 odd years, what is the attitude? The attitude was one of service. When you say that there's an attitude of service, now your focus will not be on excuses, will not be on paperwork. What is your focus on? Performance. Actually achieving something for the country and for its citizens. Since you have an attitude of service and you focus on delivering performance, in post-independent India, almost anything that you're proud of, you will realize that it was founded in these 20 years. What we achieved in these 20 years, we've not been able to achieve in the next 65 years that have come after this, or 55 years that have come after this. What are we proud of? We are proud of the IITs, we are proud of the IIMs, we are proud of AIMS, we are proud of DRDO, we are proud of ISRO. If you are proud of it in post-independent India, high probability you'll find it here, because that was the kind of culture we had. Don't complain about the literacy levels, don't complain about the lack of resources. You do the best that you're capable of doing. Today, on the other hand, the same attitude is not service, the same attitude is self-service, which leads to what? Which leads to not performance but file movement. What is file movement? That I'm happy that I've done my work as long as the file on my table goes to the next level in the hierarchy. For some reason, I don't know how I remembered Sasaram and that the tomb of Sher Shah Suri in the state of Bihar not a friend, a student rather, I would say. He's posted there in the IAS. I was talking to him about a month back, 3-4 weeks back. And in the middle of the conversation, I remembered, so I just mentioned to him, I said, it's very shameful that 15 bridges have collapsed in your state in the last 1 month. I said, what is happening? And again, why we say file movement, what is his answer? 2 points. Number one, he said that, sir, you should not worry about this and people should not criticize us too much, because in Bihar, the topography is very different from the rest of India. If the topography is different from the rest of India, then you're supposed to make bridges in a different manner. You ask these civil engineers, what kind of a bridge will last? If Sher Shah Suri's tomb stands after 500 years, why are your bridges not able to last even 5 years? When he heard that, then his second point came. He said, no, sir, even then you don't have to worry. I said, taxpayers' money is being wasted. He said, no, sir, not a single rupee will be wasted. We are very strictly inquiring into the matter. When you are inquiring into the matter, when will the inquiry give its report? We have no idea. It will take so much time that very soon the matter will go away, will drift away from public memory. What is this called? This is called file movement. In the past, in the bureaucracy especially, what was status? In the past, there was literally no visible symbol of status. You forget bureaucrats. Even prime ministers and chief ministers genuinely believed in simple living and high thinking. In contrast, today, forget people in the bureaucracy. People who clear this examination, the civil services exam, the day they clear, they almost immediately start believing that they're entitled to the status of a VIP. Today is, let's say, the 15th of May. The result for the civil services exam is supposed to be declared in the afternoon. 3 people from your class, some 3 people wake up in the morning. They wake up in the morning, one person goes out to buy bread, another person is making tea in the house, another person is reading the newspaper or doing something. At 3:30 in the afternoon, the result is declared. In the morning, who are you? You are person A, person B, person C. In the evening, who are you? You are sir and you are ma'am. From that day onwards, it's not only these people, it's also the influence that comes from society. From the evening onwards, wherever these people go, they are literally treated as demigods. Now you are 22, 23, 24 years old. When you go somewhere, when people 28 years old, 31 years old, 40 years old are looking up to you, are listening to you very carefully. By the way, if I took your answer sheets and gave them to another evaluator, do you think you'll be able to maintain this rank? Maybe not. Maybe your rank will see a drop of 40 or 50 ranks. Maybe it'll see a drop of even more than that. A little bit of luck has also worked in your favor. But from that day onwards, their old school, their old college, their community, their society, everywhere they go, they will be valued. So when these people come here, even when they come to a place like Vajiram to share their experiences with you, how do they come? They come in a government car. You're not even a probationer right now. Then why are you misusing resources? Because I believe that I'm entitled to the status of a VIP. And this is when I've not even joined the services. As a result, what do we call you? Public servant or public master? Public servants. But you start believing that you're superior, you're better than the people that you're supposed to govern. In the past, how did government servants, how did bureaucrats understand their work? Through direct public contact, by taking field trips, by conducting surprise inspections, surprise checks. Today, on the other hand, how do they understand their work? Through secondary sources. Number one, your subordinates. Number two, the politician. Number three, the media, and so on. Neeraj Chopra won the silver medal. That I got to know today morning when I woke up. I had slept on time yesterday. I woke up at about 5:30. When I woke up in the morning, I had got 3 messages from 3 different people. One is in Hyderabad, one is in the state of Bihar, and one is in the state of Uttarakhand. All three had sent the same message, sir, missed gold by a very slim margin. Similar message they had sent me. All three of them are in government services, two in the IAS, one in the IPS. This match finished at about 1:10, 1:15 last night. Roughly that time, all three of them were messaged within a gap of 5 minutes that he was not able to win the gold medal. Good. Now, if you have the, what should I say, if you have the excitement or the curiosity to watch his match till 1 o'clock at night, which is quite late, there's nothing wrong with that. My only question is, 10 minutes past 1, when the javelin event finally ended, you knew that Neeraj Chopra has won the silver medal. Can you please sit in your gypsy, drive for half an hour in your area, and just look at your area before you come back home? Can you go to a nearby government hospital? Can you stop at a local police station? Can you go just drive on the road and look at the quality of the street lights in your area? But that you people never do. It is literally impossible to get you out of your house, to get you into reality, to see what are the problems that people are facing. As a result of which, the government says something very different on paper, the commitment that it makes to the people, as compared to what we actually witness in reality. In plain simple terms, in your entire life, how many IPS officers, IAS officers you cannot recognize, they wear clothes like you and me, how many IPS officers in uniform have you seen? Almost none. Why? Because public contact today is extremely limited. They don't understand their work unless someone else conveys it to them. The source is secondary. In the past, the relationship between the superior and the subordinate was a relationship of advisors, genuine advisors, free, frank advisors, the understanding of the relationship of colleagues. Today, on the other hand, it is a relationship of pliance and sycophancy. First, someone or the other will ask me, what do you mean by pliant? Something that can be easily, this can't be bent, something that can be easily bent. How do I bend you to my will? Number one, by giving you a temptation, or number two, by giving you a threat. I will tempt you with a promotion, I will threaten you that I will deny you the promotion. Same case studies that we were looking at earlier. As a result of which, now when you're motivated by self-service and self-interest, most people will now have the attitude or will work on the basis of sycophancy. What is sycophancy? Under all circumstances, I want to keep my senior happy. India perhaps is one of the very few countries, maybe the only country in the world, where senior IPS officers, and it is a matter of national shame, national tragedy, that senior IPS officers in their khaki uniform with the stars on their shoulder will bend down to touch a politician's feet, will bend down to pick up their shoes and carry them outside if they've taken them out somewhere, will bend down to pick up the luggage of a man who's been convicted of rape and murder. As far as politicians are concerned, their names I will not take here because I don't know who will get offended where. But India is a country where we have seen senior IPS officers, they are the only ones we can recognize, who bend down to pick up the shoes and the slippers to take blessings. If you're taking the blessings, and why they say that, sir, he's the chief minister. That's very good. Do you also take the blessings of the principal of a government school when you go over there because he's elder to you? No, because there you know he can do nothing for you. You're not doing this out of respect. You're doing this more because you expect some personal benefit in return. There was that person who was convicted 22 years in 20 years or 22 years in jail called Gurmeet Ram Rahim from the sect called Dera Sacha Soda. Have you heard of him? Convicted of rape, convicted of murder. When he was convicted, when he had to be taken out, I think it was the Attorney General standing over there. Attorney General immediately went over there, touched his feet, asked for forgiveness, that I'm sorry you have to go to jail. Then picked up his bag and carried it outside. And as he was walking outside, an IPS officer will never salute you, but the IPS officers were saluting him in their uniform with their caps, were saluting him as he was, where are you going, by the way? Being taken to jail. This is what you call psychophancy. Why? Because you know that even today, Gurmeet Ram Rahim remains a potent political force. He has the ability, get him out on parole, he can get you lakhs of votes by conducting just 1 or 2 rallies. As a result of which, he is very important for politicians. Politicians are important for you. In the past, when people were reaching the end of their career, they were happy to retire. Today, on the other hand, what do they want? They want post-retirement benefits. For those post-retirement benefits, what do I need? I need political support, political patronage, for which again, I'm willing to do anything that I have to, even if it is wrong. Which is why we say, no matter how many laws, rules, and regulations you create, how many more organizations you establish, you will not be able to achieve much unless you also improve the cultures. These cultures, if you want to improve, you'll have to focus on 2 elements. First, the strength of the culture, and second, the quality of the culture. But what strength and quality means, I'll come to later. First, this over here, in the past compared to now, the change in the cultures is everyone clear. Now, to minimize your work, I will not add anything over here, but I will not even write it in your handout. But instead of this, you please put the word Western over here and you put the word Indian over here. And this will help you make a comparison between cultures that exist in other countries as compared to ours. For a moment, consider a person who's working with the FBI or with the CIA in the US as compared to a person who's working with the CBI or the Enforcement Directorate in India. You will not use these words there, but this is for your understanding. If you look at the CIA in the US, what is the attitude? Service. For the CBI in India, what is the attitude? Largely self-service. With the CIA, what is the focus? On performance. In India, what is the focus? File movement. Is the CBI taking over this inquiry of those 3 students who drowned in the basement that day? If I meet you people after 1 year, God knows where you will be, but after 1 year, do you think waterlogging now will stop in Rajendra Nagar? I assure you, I can almost give you in writing. The answer is no. This is what do you mean by file movement? In casual language, which you will not use, this is what you call optics. That I don't have to do my work. It has to seem that I'm doing some work. They will stay here for some time. They will trouble a few people. A few places will shut down. After that, things will go back to normal. In the West, there is literally no visible sign of status. On the other hand, in India, even a person who's served as an MLA once, a person who's working as a low-level government functionary, has visible signs of status. Have you seen the number of cars? Have you seen the car of the American president? It has the American flag right in front. There's nothing else. In India, when you go on the roads of India, what will you find? There's a car that is driving by. Under that is written X, not even MLA, X councillor or X Sarpanch or X Panchayat member, 2003, 2005. That is what you call VIP status. Over there, the understanding of the work is direct public contact, the kind of rallies that they hold. In India, Joe Biden, why did he step down from the American presidential race? After 1 or 2 presidential debates, when people very clearly understood that he's not in control of his mental faculties. In India, when was the last time that we could ask a question to one of our politicians? Almost never. Railway minister says there are no railway accidents, stop making a big deal out of small issues. Education minister says that there have been no exam leaks, I don't know what more, and so on. So very simply, when you have to make a comparison when you get this table, that is India in the past compared to India now. This is very frequently cultures that you find in other developed countries at least compared to the cultures that we find in India today. This is everyone clear. Now, to improve these cultures, you will have to focus on two elements simultaneously: the strength of the culture and the quality of the culture. Strength can be considered as strong or weak. Quality can be considered as good or bad. Ideally, we would want cultures that are strong and good. Very frequently, we find cultures that are strong but unfortunately bad. To understand this, let me start first by looking at what we mean by strength. What is the strength of a culture? The strength of a culture refers to the extent to which a majority of the people, a majority of the employees have a similar understanding of the organization's purpose and their role in achieving the purpose. In plain, simple words, if most of the people have a similar understanding of what the organization is trying to achieve and how they should behave to achieve the objective, we say that the culture is strong. If different people have a different understanding of how they are supposed to work, what they are trying to achieve, we say that the culture is weak. And before I look at any of the examples here, let me first take your example. You people are a batch called M1, which means you started in the month of February. That's correct? February you started. 1st March. 1st Feb. You've been here for a long time then. 1st of February. On the 1st of February, when you people came here for your first class in your batch in M1, was the culture strong or was the culture weak? Was the culture strong or was the culture weak? In February, in M1, M2, 5, 10, 15, 20, any batch that I look at, on the first day and roughly for about the first one month, the culture is extremely strong. What is a strong culture? Almost all the students, in fact, all the students, I would say, have the same understanding of the organization's purpose. What is the purpose of an organization like Vajiram? In one word, to help you to pass the exam. And they understand their role also in achieving that objective. What is your role in passing the exam? Work hard. When the culture is strong, when all these people have the same understanding of how they're supposed to work, how they're supposed to behave, it is very easy to make these people work. In the month of February, for example, let's say this girl comes and meets me. She says that, sir, if I want to do well in this exam, which paper should I read, Hindu or Express? I know that these people have just started their classes. I know that the month is still February. So I tell her, read both papers. If I tell her to read both papers in February, she will actually try to read both. Why? Because the culture is strong. This boy comes and meets me and he asks me, that's for polity, which book would you recommend? Should I read Lakshmikant or should I read Subhash Kashyap? I know that the month is February, batch has just about started. So what will I say? I will say that you read Lakshmikant, you read both books by Subhash Kashyap, you read D.D. Basu, you read Granville Austin, and for the fun of it, I also chose J.N. Pandey. J.N. Pandey, by the way, is about this thick. In February, he will actually try to read all of them. Why? Because the culture is strong. It's very easy to make these people do any work that you want them to. But the problem is that that was February and this now is almost the middle of August. In August, in the same M1 batch, is the culture strong or is the culture weak? Not M1, batch, after 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, batch after batch, the culture starts becoming weaker. What is a weak culture? Different people have a different understanding of the organization's purpose and their role in achieving it. In the month of August, the same M1 batch asked these people, every day you still coming for class, why are you people coming here? And today, different people will give different answers. One person will say that, sir, I've understood, this exam I will not be able to pass, but if I attend the classes, I will at least be able to give the State Public Service Commission. Another student says that, sir, UPSC, State Public Service Commission, I cannot pass, but if I attend the classes, it will at least help me sit for the bank PO exam. Third student says that, sir, UPSC, State Public Service Commission, public bank PO, nothing I will be able to pass. But problem is, parents are saying we paid a lot of money, so you sit in Vajiram and you get our money back one way or the other. Different reasons. This is what you call a weak culture. When the culture is weak, getting these people to do any work is literally impossible. It's extremely difficult to extract work from them. In the month of, I was asking these people who conduct your EWP exercise, is the proportion of students writing answers the same it was in the month of March when you people had just about started? They said no. They said with every passing week, every passing month, every EWP assignment, you get it on a weekly basis, I think. They said the number of submissions is declining gradually but consistently. If there were, let's say, 100 assignments in the 100 submissions in the First time that they conducted the exercise, by now, the number of submissions has come down to 20-25 per batch. Huge decline. Why? Because now the culture is becoming weaker. Question for you people is, what would you prefer? A culture that is strong or a culture that is weak? A culture that is strong or a culture that is weak? Many times I've said this earlier. Today I have a class with you people after a long time. So let me remind you, don't answer so quickly. Because when you answer so quickly, usually high probability that you'll be wrong. Now, what should you say? You should say that will also depend upon the quality of the culture. There is strength, but what does quality depend upon? Quality depends upon the extent to which you uphold values that promote consistent public welfare. If you're promoting the welfare, we say it is good. If you're damaging the welfare, we will say it is bad. In February, when you people came here, the culture in your batch was strong and it was also good. Why was it good? It was good because every single student genuinely was making an effort to try and pass the exam. In August, the culture is becoming weak, and I am warning you, by the end of December, your classes here should get over by, I would say, end of November, mid-December. By around 10th December, I think you people will be done. In the end of December, when the year comes to an end, students start looking at the next year and there's a mental countdown that comes up in their mind. That another 4.5 months from today is my prelims. In the month of December, the culture in every batch again becomes very strong, but this time it is extremely bad. Why is it a bad culture? In December, students realize that if you want to pass the prelims, any prelims test that you're giving in December, you should be able to consistently maintain a score somewhere between 80 to 95, 81, 82, 93, but maintain a score between 80 to 95. The students also notice that while I need a score of 80 to 95, in most of the tests that I'm giving, I'm getting a score between 45 to 55. And no matter what I'm trying, no matter how much I'm studying or experimenting, my score is not going beyond that. So in the month of December, the most common question that a bulk of the students, majority of the students ask is what? Should I give the exam this year or should I give it next year? When most of the students are thinking in this manner, we say that the culture is strong. But when most of these students have mentally given up, have surrendered, have decided that they cannot clear the exam, what do you call? You say that the culture is bad. And why do we say that you should not be thinking? Do you honestly want to use 6 attempts to clear this exam? No. In the first 3 attempts, in the first 2 attempts rather, if you're not able to reach the mains, this exam is not for you. It's a bad thing to say, but probably the exam is not for you. After 2 attempts also, if you not clear the prelims, please start doing something better with your life. But I personally have seen students who give 3, 4, 5 attempts without once clearing the prelims, and they still think that they want to give it a 6th time over. When most of the students are giving up, are not doing the right thing, we say that the culture is bad. That's why we say that we would ordinarily prefer cultures that are strong and good. In our country, very frequently, we find cultures that are strong, but unfortunately extremely bad. To understand the difference and what difference they make, let me start with 2 sets of people, both of whom are in uniform. First is the armed forces, second is the police in India. For the armed forces, what do we use to describe their culture? In one word, we say that this is the culture of service. Why is it strong? Because whether you are a Jawan in the army or you are a general in the army, every single person knows that their work is to do justice to the service of this country and to the service of the people of this country. And why is it good? Because no matter what work you give them, they will perform the work to the best of their abilities. They will, number one, of course, they will guard your borders. Number two, there's a natural disaster, Wayanad. If I want to send some people for relief and rescue operations, if I want to build a bridge, who will you send over there? The municipal corporation, the PWD, or the Indian Army? Almost immediately, the Corps of Engineers, they will make a bridge in a matter of 36 hours, which your civilian authorities will not be able to make in the next couple of weeks. By the time your discussions and commissions are going on, by that time the work could be done. If somewhere there is violence related to communalism, let's say 2 communities are engaged in violence, who do you trust more, the local state police or the armed forces? The armed forces, they will maintain peace for you. If there has been an earthquake somewhere and we have to distribute relief or relief supplies, who would be more dependable? Again, the armed forces. Strong culture and also a good culture. A culture that is strong, unfortunately not a culture that is good, is a culture that we see in the police. What word do we use for this? And not only us. This word used to describe their culture goes all the way back to 1904 or 1905. Curzon was the viceroy in India. They appointed a commission called the Fraser Commission. Fraser Commission was expected to give recommendations regarding how the police in India could be improved. They used a word and they said that in India, the police force has a culture of domination. That when an Indian policeman, not a Britisher, when an Indian policeman looks at other Indians, he does not see a group of people he's supposed to protect, he's supposed to nurture. He sees a group of people that he can scare, that he can intimidate, and he can dominate. And that culture seems to exist even today. Whichever city of India you come from, the one place in your city where you should feel very safe, very protected is inside a police station. And surprisingly, that is the one place where we feel most vulnerable. In India, if you have to go to a police station to file a complaint, whether you're a girl or you're a boy, you will always be given two pieces of advice. Number one, don't go after it gets dark, go when there is daylight. And number two, when you go there, try not to go alone, try to go with someone. Why? Because if you go alone, there's a high probability that the policeman on duty there will first victimize you, harass you, or try to exploit you. A culture that is strong, felt across the country, north to south, east to west, unfortunately not a culture that can be called good. Similarly, in India, it's not easy to find cultures that are strong and good. But some organizations that can be mentioned here from the government, IITs, IIMs, bad cultures are relatively more common to find. For example, government schools. In government schools, what is the focus? Education of the children or the passing percentage? Passing percentage. Last year, 63% students passed. This year, 70% students passed. I believe I've done my work. I believe that I'm improving. But what the students have learned, how well they have learned, that I'm not concerned with at all. Now is the one part for the next 3 to 5 minutes that I need you to understand most carefully what exactly this culture is, what strong and good means, and what difference a culture makes in the working of the organization. If you allow these students to talk freely, if you give them complete independence, and you ask them, do you think India has a good future ahead of them, ahead of us? Most of them will not say yes. They will say that, sir, corruption, maladministration, insensitivity, indifference has become so common that it is very difficult to believe that somewhere we'll be able to stop this decline and we'll be able to reverse it. They'll say, sir, everywhere, the decline is rapid, is rampant. Then ask them, have you heard of this organization called the Tatas? They will say yes. The Tatas is one organization. These people are Indians. They belong to the same religions. They live in the same cities. But they are known for their commitment to the service and the welfare of the people more than sometimes even government organizations. Two case studies. That's why I've not been able to finalize your handout. There are two case studies I wanted to put in your handout. But then the handout was becoming very lengthy. I'm trying to cut them short. I'll see whether I'll put them in your handout or not finally. Those two case studies are from the Harvard Business School. Very briefly, let me explain them to you over here and understand what a strong and a good culture can do, regardless of your laws and regulations. First case study, first example, goes back to the year 2008. What happened in 2008? 26th of November, Mumbai was attacked. When Bombay was attacked, the first place where they killed a lot of our people was Chhatrapati Shivaji Terminus, the railway station. Even today, if you go on YouTube, you'll find small videos, 30, 40, 1 minute, 30, 40 seconds, 1 minute long, which will show you CCTV footage of that attack. Any CCTV footage, any video that you watch, you notice that the camera is here. In the distance, you can see a platform. There's a train standing over there. People are walking around here and there. Suddenly, the firing will start. When the firing will start, people will run to save their lives. Who will run? Men will run, women will run, children will run. But any video that you watch shot from any angle, you will notice that in the first few seconds, one common group of people ran away to save their lives. Who were they? They were policemen in uniform. Wearing their khaki uniforms, they abandoned their posts, they abandoned their duties, they ran to save their lives. Later, when the investigation started, these policemen were asked, why did you run away? Why did you desert your post? And they gave an answer which seems to be somewhat logical, somewhat sensible. They said, how do you expect us to fight an AK-47 when we have only a lathi in our hand? And it seems to make sense. But the policemen at CST will come to later. Second place where they killed a lot of our people was the Taj Mahal Hotel. The Taj group of hotels is owned by which company? By the Tatas. Now at CST, I have policemen wearing khaki uniforms. The people who are working at Taj, what is their job description? One person is a waiter, one person is a cook, one person is a gardener, one person is a driver. Any of these job descriptions that I'm talking about, does it have something to do with national security? No. If I'm training you to become a waiter in a hotel, will I teach you how to deal with a terrorist attack? No. But when the Taj was attacked, how many Tata employees ran to save their lives? Zero. Not one person ran. Every single employee over there knew what is the nearest way through which you can jump out of a window, jump out of a door and save your life. They didn't do that. What did they do? They formed human chains. 30 meters over there in the distance, there's a man with an AK-47 firing left, right and center. These employees will stand over here. They will tell the guests that you stand behind us, get on your knees, crawl in that direction. Why? So that the terrorists cannot see you. You first leave and save your life. Not one single person ran. More important question, and that's in India, Indian employees. More importantly, the question is, if I was the manager of the hotel that night and you are employees in that hotel, if I tell you, don't run away, don't save your life, first save the guest of the hotel, do you think you will listen to me? No. Not unless this understanding that your duty and your clients will take first priority is repeatedly reinforced into you. And who will repeatedly reinforce that into you? That is your organizational culture. When day in, day out, you realize that given a choice between profits and service, given a choice between comfort and service, it is always service that is given first priority. That is precisely how you'll behave on that day also. And the reason why I'm mentioning the Tatas over here is because they've done this consistently, repeatedly throughout their history. If I take you back by another 4 years, the year will be 2004. Date is the 26th of December. What happened on the 26th of December? At about 8:30 in the morning, a tsunami hit the southern parts of Asia. In the path of the tsunami were many countries, starting first with Indonesia, second coming to India, and third, moving on, going to the Maldives. Now, the Maldives is a group of islands. Many of these islands have luxury resorts. And that day in 2004, there was one Taj resort, which was directly in the path of the tsunami. Now, these resorts in the Maldives have one common pattern. This is your island. In the middle of the island, you have a central building. In this building, you will find your restaurant, you will find your reception, you will find your gym, all of that. But guests do not stay in the building. The guests usually stay in independent huts and cottages, which are scattered all across the island. Why that is important, you will understand in about 2 or 3 minutes from now. Now, today is the 26th of December. Evening before yesterday was what? Christmas. Most of these resorts had parties which went on till 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. So at 8:30 in the morning, most of the guests were sleeping. You are a Taj employee working at this resort. What is your job description? The same. One person is a waiter, one person is a chef, one person is a gardener, something on these lines. Now you are an employee working at the resort. 8:30 in the morning, you realize suddenly that something is seriously wrong. How do you know that something is wrong? Because in the last few moments, in the last few minutes, everything has become extremely quiet. All the birds are flying in one direction. The insects and the animals that you see, lizards, ants, suddenly they have vanished. When you go and stand at the beach, you realize that the water in the beach has receded by 300 to 400 meters. You're in the middle of the Indian Ocean. India is hundreds of kilometers away. Nobody can come to help you. What is the first thing you should do? As a sensible human being, the first thing you should do is that you should run and save your life. On this island, on the side of this island, there was a small hill. If you go to the top of the hill, the water will not be able to reach you. You will be able to survive. What did these people do? These people ran from one hut to the other across the island, banging on the doors, telling the guests to wake up. They told the guests that you forget about your belongings. Something is about to happen, something very bad. You run with us and first save your life. Now, in the last 10 minutes back, where was the water? 400 meters away. Where is the water right now? It's already covering your shoes. These people did not leave a single person behind. They gathered all the guests and took them to the top of the hill. This resort was the one resort where there was zero human casualty. There was a lot of devastation, a lot of destruction, but zero human casualty. Why? Because you did not put your life at first priority. Now, after saving your lives, what should you do? You should feel very happy, very proud of yourself. Sit down, rest. What did these people do? These people ran back to the central building. By now, where is the water? The water is still your waste. The tsunami is not going to stop. And why did they run down to the central building? To pick up packets of food, to pick up bottles of drinkable water, to pick up gas cylinders on their backs, male as well as female employees. 8:30 in the morning, the tsunami hit the Maldives. 2 o'clock in the afternoon, this resort was serving lunch to its guests. And they were not serving lunch because people were hungry. They were serving lunch to reassure the people that even in these circumstances, if we can cook and give food to you, you don't have to worry. We'll get you back home safely to your families. And again, the question to ask is, if I am the manager of this resort and you are employee that day, if there's a tsunami hitting the island and if I tell you, don't run away, first save the guests, do you think you will listen to me? No. Not unless this understanding is repeatedly, systematically reinforced within you. That is why we say that if you want to improve the functioning of a government organization, a private organization, more rules, more organizations we don't need. What you need to do is to focus on improving your cultures. Here, a legitimate question that should come from a good student, from a good batch is, how is it that the Tatas are able to achieve what even the IPS is not able to achieve in India? This is something we'll discuss in the next class, but to explain it to you briefly over here, how are the Tatas able to achieve this? Because this will depend upon n number of factors. What are the factors? This is different. Those ones: recruitment, training, performance appraisal, disciplinary action, and so on. To understand one of them very briefly, the Tatas are able to maintain this kind of commitment, are able to maintain this kind of, what should I say, focus on their duties, on their welfare, because the Tatas believe that first and most importantly, you should recruit the right people. The Tatas have a, I don't know to what extent it is right or wrong, but they have a policy that they prefer recruiting from the tier 2, tier 3 cities of India rather than the tier 1 and the metropolitan cities of India. So if you give the Tatas a choice between two candidates, one is from Delhi, one is from Chandigarh, they will prefer the person from Chandigarh. Give them a choice between Bombay and Pune, they will prefer Pune. Give them a choice between Pune and Aurangabad, they will prefer Aurangabad. Why? Because the Tatas believe that in the larger cities of India, the value system has become absolutely corrupted. These people, even if you select them from these centers, changing their values, making them more committed to their work, getting that sense of responsibility will be extremely difficult. To what extent they are right or wrong, I'm not really sure, but is it producing results for them? Answer is yes. Then will come your training, performance appraisal, and so on. But those again, like I said, we'll discuss later. For now, where is that gone? Sorry. For now, what you mean by strong, what you mean by weak, what you mean by good and bad, this first is everyone clear. This does everyone follow. Can a person with strong determination, willpower and authority alter the work culture of the organization positively? My dear friend, it also depends upon what your position in that organization is. The more superior, the more senior your position, the greater will be your influence. And the lower your position, the weaker will be your influence. For example, if I look at an organization called the Election Commission of India, there is an Election Commission of India that is headed by a person called T.N. Seshan, and there is the Election Commission of India today. Now, when T.N. Seshan was the Chief Election Commissioner of India, the Election Commission of India was feared. Whether you are a member of the ruling party, whether you're in the opposition, everyone knew that you could not put a step beyond point. Otherwise, the consequences for you could be extremely brutal, could be extremely severe. Today, on the other hand, to a large extent, every time elections are held in India, what do we question? First, we question whether the conduct of the Election Commission, whether the conduct of the elections will be free, fair, and impartial. Why? Because to a large extent, the credibility has been diminished. If I look at the last two prime ministers we've had, one is Dr. Manmohan Singh, second is the current Prime Minister Narendra Modi. If you compare the two, Dr. Manmohan Singh is one of the most erudite, one of the most learned, one of the most experienced people that this country has produced. Yet we had literally no faith in his leadership. 10 years he was Prime Minister of India and yet was able to achieve very little. In contrast, you have another person at the position of Prime Minister, but this person in the last 10 years, 11 years, even though there are a lot of problems, has still been able to achieve much. If he tells this country, what is the appeal that he's making to the people these days? On the 15th of August, please put a flag outside. What is that called? Har Ghar Tiranga. Please put a flag there. When you raise a flag in your house or even outside your room in Rajendra Nagar, what is the first thing that you will learn? The one thing that you will learn is what is the correct position for the flag. Which color do you put up and which color do you put down? That day, there will be these students sitting over here, they'll be walking around here and there. They will notice a school, they will notice a shop, they will notice a house where the flag has been hoisted, has been raised, but has been raised upside down. What will they do? They will immediately go on Google. They will see that if I see this photograph, what am I supposed to do? Google or the government of India will tell you, you're supposed to click a photograph, share the location with the government. They will share it. Then they will stand there for 15-20 minutes, have a cup of tea. Within 20 minutes, the local police will come there. The police will ring the doorbell. They will go to that house wherever the flag is upside down, and they will tell them that no, you can't do this. Please put it up. Put it in the right position. That the day these people will realize that in this country we still have respect and we still have a lot of significance that we give to the flag. That is why he is making the appeal. But does it reach out to a lot of people? Yes. When you people now, you people are very young. You are just going to start your job. But when you start your job, will you be able to improve the cultures? That depends upon your age. Somewhere later, one point is going to come, the principle of seniority. Sitting in this class today, I'm telling you, warning you, advising you, the day you reach Mussoorie to start your training for any service, that's your foundation course, if you reach Mussoorie between the age of 21 to, I would say, 23 and a half, if you get into a service like the IAS, you will retire, if you're lucky, Cabinet Secretary of India, if you're not very lucky, at least the Chief Secretary of your state. The day you reach Mussoorie, if you are between the age of 24 to 28, you might become the Chief Secretary of a state. More than that, you will probably not go. All probability, you will retire as an additional Chief Secretary. The day you reach Mussoorie, if you are 30 years or older than that, 29, 30 years or older than that, even if you're very lucky, you'll be extremely blessed if you become even a joint sec. Even that will probably not happen. Why? Because age is not on your side. Now, from your batch, there are two, let's say, two students from Vajiram. One is called Tina Dabi and one is called some person X. Tina Dabi enters the IAS at the age of 22, reaches Mussoorie at the age of 22. And this person X reaches Mussoorie at the age of 31. Tina Dabi knows that no matter what I do, I can be as strict as I want, as harsh as I want, as unforgiving as I want. Nobody can question me because I have got the next 36 years of my life in the IAS. If I've got Rajasthan Carter, 36 years, not a single person in Rajasthan, I am not going to be corrupt. I don't have to accept bribes. If I tell you report for work tomorrow morning at 7:30, the entire office, because the country needs it, you people cannot question me. What will you do? Get me transferred. I'll get transferred somewhere else. On the other hand, this person at 31, when he tries to do the same thing, or if he thinks that he can be strict, beyond a certain point, he will not be able to do it. Why? Because everyone knows that his rise in the hierarchy, in the organization, is already curtailed because of his age. That is why the government, in one commission after the other, will recommend only one thing. What are they recommending? Please reduce the entry age. What is your entry age? Upper limit, what is the age permitted to you? 32 is for the general category. For the reserve categories, 37. If I ask you to train two people, one is 22 years old, Tina Dabi, another one is this boy over here, how old are you? 37. Who do you think will be easier to train? The 22-year-old. Yet, why are we not able to reduce this? Because of societal pressure, not political, societal pressure. You try to bring about any such changes, even a good reform, positive reform, you will not receive the support that you need from your society. Alright, and as a result of which the cultures will remain as bad or as inefficient as they were in the past. Alright, everyone? Good. They have increased your class timings these days. Your class is 11 o'clock to 2 o'clock now. What are your class timings? 11 to 2:30? 1:30. She is saying it very, very seriously. Okay, then let me take a pause over here. Handout you people will get on Sunday. Next part I need some time to explain to you. Before we conclude, these 5 points over here, please note down. And what is WC over here? Work culture. So recruitment policy for government jobs and training is so well crafted. It is well crafted. What is that girl's name? Pooja Khedkar. Have you heard about the case? That's your recruitment policy. In detail, we'll discuss it in the next class. But no, Most of the problem that you find in our training programs, what do we have? A culture of elitism. In our recruitment policy, what do we have? A focus on checking your technical skills, but not assessing your personality or your character. No, 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 that's far from the truth. These over here, please note down, and beyond this, then we'll continue in the next class. Thank you.